There he is. Allow me to clear my throat. I'm Don. It's late. I'm up. Hi. How are you, my friends? I think I'm bringing the wrong tone to a funeral, a eulogy, a memoriam, a remembering the life of. Let's go with that. That sounds more classy. Tonight we'll be watching Lone Wolf McQuade, but really we'll be talking about Chuck Norris, all sorts of Chuck Norris stuff. We'll talk about this movie in general. We'll talk about pretty much most of the Chuck Norris movies because this is an hour and a half of Chuck Norris just kicking and fighting and being Chuck Norris. So welcome to those of you who are here for the first time ever. According to the analytics, that's a common thing. I'm Don. I watch movies late at night because I can't sleep, as I've done my entire life ever since I was a small child. As you imagine, I've seen a lot of damn movies. So, tonight we will be watching the classic Lone Wolf McQuade starring Chuck Norris, who recently passed away. That's a sad thing. We'll get to that. But the big thing now, I got to get up this queued up on Tubi. Uh, this is on like Plex and Pluto and all the other goofball names, I think. But this one, Tubi's the best way to go. That's the way I'm going to go with it. It's an hour and 48 minutes on Tubi. I don't know if that's with commercials, without commercials, how that works. For those of you who haven't seen this one before, it's kind of badass. It's this is where Chuck sort of establishes his like Texas tough guy karate thing, like Texas karate, huh? But he does that here. He does it in Silent Rage, and then later on, obviously, Walker Texas Ranger becomes like this big kind of hit. I think internationally as well, kind of like one of them Baywatch deals where it's all over the place on TV. So we'll be watching Lone Wolf McQuade. I'm getting ready to press play on this. I see a bunch of folks coming in the chat. Before I press play, actually, let's say, you know what? I'm not going to do that to you guys. Let's press play. You know what? Play. Dang it. And there's a commercial, 36 seconds. Let's see what friends in the chat are saying. Late Night the Devil Owl, right? You never seen this one? Oh, really? This one's a classic. Um, It's Chuck. It was supposed to be Chuck versus Bruce Lee, supposedly, according to legend. Bruce Lee was supposed to be the bad guy. I don't believe Bruce Lee would play a bad guy. I don't know. So when Bruce Lee passed away, they went on to the dude that was in Kung Fu. So it's David Carradine versus Bruce Lee, or Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris. Um, but it's got like the real like gritty, Texas thing he does, where everything's dusty and dirt. It looks like a Robert Rodriguez movie. He does his best like Clint Eastwood impersonation. All right, it's starting. There's the MGM lion roar. Hello, it's Lone Wolf McBones. Welcome. What in tarnation? Oh, this is me. The show started 20 minutes late tonight. We were supposed to start at 1, but I had a little tech difficulty, but I think I got that taken care of, at least compromised. I made a deal with the Empire. Echo is bad dragon malfunction. Can you help him with that? It's God damn it, the snowball. Don't you call it a bad dragon? I didn't even know what that was until like 2 weeks ago. Wow, I never realized how bad this was. We start off with a wolf just walking across the countryside, but it's like got a filter over it or whatever. So it's kind of like colorized and I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like they turned up the red saturation filter. The credits are super cheesy. I think they're supposed to be like a Sergio Leone type deal, but haven't seen this one in a while. Saw it as a kid a bunch. Saw it in the theater. Saw it on VHS. Saw it on TBS a bunch. This one's got classic moments. So if it's on cable, you can flip through, stop on it. Um, wait for the scene that you like that's coming up. Um, the famous scene in this is where they bury him alive in his truck and then he pops a beer and it just drives straight out, right? It's badass. It's classic like action film moment. Um, but still just wolves running through the countryside. We just started. Like I said, this one's on Tubi if you'd like to watch along. Um, Folks are talking about lemon pound cakes because you guys are gross or whatever. I don't get it. Bones says he has the movie loaded. By the way, welcome Bones, welcome Echo, welcome Anthony Chabot. I see is here. How are you, buddy, doing? By the way, Rip Chuck Norris. Yeah, Rip Chuck Norris. As I said, that's really the main reason we're watching this tonight. There's a lot of reasons we're watching this tonight. Um, you know, a lot of the films I watch here on this channel are a lot of like cult classics. That's my favorite type of film, and it's you can't really define it. Um, but a lot of these Chuck Norris films are cult classics, and to me, this is one in particular. You know, like um, it's late night schlock. It's something that just you're tired. It's on TBS. It's on whatever, and it's like, oh, Chuck, hey. Um, so when Chuck passed away the other day, I didn't believe it. I thought it was I thought I got interneted. You know, I was like, oh no, it's it says on there Chuck Norris, whatever, 86 or whatever he was, passes away, and I was like, I didn't believe it. So the next day, I went through and double checked on all the news sources. And I was like, yep, sure enough, damn it. So yeah, I wanted to watch something Chuck. Like I said, we watch these cult movies here, and this one is for sure a cult classic. When I Googled some stuff to see some info about it right away, first thing it says is cult classic. I was like, you damn right it is. So we open it up, and Chuck's watching what appears to be, I think, horse thieves, and they're rustling horses all along here, but he's looking through a little scope, spying on them. Chuck's got a way about him. He basically is mimicking Eastwood. You know, he's trying to do Clint Eastwood. He's got the squinty eyes. Even this, it's the rogue cop, right? The cop who won't play by the rules. So he tried to find this sweet spot between the dude that fought Bruce Lee and this, actual karate man who has chops and respect and stuff, versus being like this Texas tough guy thing. Like I said, it's a weird branding. I'm a Texas karate man. I don't think that's a thing. That's East and West together, like Star Wars. You've got your chocolate and my peanut butter. Still just cattle rustling. Chuck really taking his time, doing the Eastwood thing, squinting the eyes. Oh, as I say that, another cut back to him squinting in the eyes. The other one about this movie, it's got Hector Beltran, or no, what's his name? Robert Beltran, who was Hector in Night of the Comet, and he was on like one of them Star Trek shows. At that point, I can't keep track. Voyager, maybe. If you know what Star Trek show that guy was in, let me know. Um, you plexing on me, bro? No, 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 no. We're good. I, he knows I have issues with streaming services. At this point, if we're gonna do a show, anything other than like the biggies, Max, Paramount, Hulu, whatever, something like that. Netflix. I trust those, but the Tubies, Fubos, or no, Tubi's cool. Fubo, Roku, Plex, Pluto, Gaburby, Snubo, Narfardark, all of those. Yeah, those are all garbage. So I mean, they could work for you, but I don't trust them. So not for you guys. Yo, Bones. Everybody saying yo to each other. Love blaring yo. Stacy, welcome. Hello, glad to see you. Stacy asks all, she always asks the best questions, and the thing is, I think she'll probably have some like cool anecdote about this or something like that. That's usually her MO. Um, do you like Hero and the Terror? That's interesting. The thing with Chuck is there's good Chuck and there's bad Chuck, right? It's weird. I put a poll out on the Night Owl Movie Talk homepage there. Um, what's your favorite Chuck Norris movie? And I put Missing in Action, this, and then what was the third one? This. Oh, a silent. No, what was it? I don't even remember. I don't even remember what the other one was. That's how Chuck Norris movies all run together to me. Um, and the big one that everybody is saying is this is the top of the line. But to me with Chuck, there's good and there's bad, right? It's either the ones that I like and the ones that I don't like. The Hero and the Terror, I barely remember. As I recall, that might have been bad Chuck. Um, is that the one that's scary? Um, but like the classic good Chuck is awesome. Like they're all about equally the same to me. I like this. I like Octagon, Eye for an Eye. Um, um, what's it called? Something of one. I don't know if the whatever. The main ones were in pretty much the early '80s. That's where he had a really good niche before the other action stars had come along. Before Stallone really got up and running because he had had Rocky and all that, but those were more serious films. When they really got up and running by like 82 and 83, Chuck started to fade away. You know, Arnie and Sly pushed him out. Everybody became muscle bound fanatics. But this one I've seen, as I mentioned a bunch of times. I saw it in the theater with my dad when I was a little kid because I was a big fan of the Octagon, which was always on late at night, and I love the Octagon because of the ninjas in it and stuff. So Octagon is good Chuck Norris. Um, the Missing in Actions 1 and 2, they're good Chuck Norris. As I recall, 3 is bad Chuck Norris. Is Chuck even in 3? He must be. Um, yeah. Sorry, the villain in this, he's like straight up El Guapo from Three Amigos. Like he's a total ripoff of Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Batches? So, anyways, yeah, I thought we would watch this Chuck Norris classic tonight. Talk about other Chuck. Um, there's not the reason I think this one works is because it's shot like a rip off of an old Sergio Leone Western type deal. Um, but it's also so over the top. It's pushing the boundaries of good taste. You know, I think it's trying to be a little bit peck and paw. I don't know. Chuck's a tough guy to write for. You know, he has to win every fight. Apparently, this is his first movie with a beard. I saw on the trivia. I was like, damn, that's a famous beard when you get trivia specifically about it. Previously, I watched Invasion USA with our friend Video Tasties. He he's also a Chuck Norris fan. Like I said, in the '80s, Chuck was right there. He was second tier under those ones I mentioned, Arnie and Sly. Bruce is right there, you know, towards the end, but Bruce doesn't really take off until after Die Hard, which was late '80s. I like Kurt Russell. I don't know if I'd put him there with Arnie and Sly for the '80s. Who's your favorite '80s action star? Let me see here. Let's see what the folks are talking about. Yeah, this is all just, yeah, they're really doing up Chuck with the hero shots right now. Like my man from Treasure of the Sierra Madre is all, you know, who's shooting at us? And even his homies all have like the like what are the bandoliers or whatever. They look like Chewbacca. Um, and then Chuck comes walking over the mountainside with the sun behind his back, like silhouetted. Wow, and he takes his gun belts off. This is listed as action western. I don't know. He fights like some drug smuggler or something. Since we're talking about Chuck Norris tonight, be sure to put your favorite Chuck Norris joke in the chat or the comments. Make it good, not one of the tired ones. You know, the classics are uh, Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups; he just pushes the earth down. Um, Chuck Norris doesn't sleep; he waits. You know, the classics. Hit me with your favorite. If not, be lazy and Google, but make it good. Make it good. I like Firewalker, Norris, and Gossett. As I recall, that was mediocre. Haven't seen that one in a long time, but that was one that was on cable all the time, and I'd flip by and kind of roll my eyes. Another one you watch first time on VHS. This one, I remember when I first ever went into video stores as a little kid, and like, you know, you're walking around and you're amazed by all the movie cover art everywhere. And I remember seeing it, and it's like, oh, I saw this in the theater, and just kind of standing there staring at the wall, like the little picture and stuff. Um, but yeah, I rented it when I was a kid because early VHS there wasn't that huge of a selection, and then later on when this was on cable, like I said, I watched it a ton. It's a HBO and well Cinemax, and then later on TBS Classic. Echo says he's only seen first 5 to 10 minutes of this. He no reason he doesn't know why. His favorite Chuck Norris movie is The Hitman. Really? Chuck calls you. He's alive. 1983. You're at your age now. He says I can play Clint role in the line of fire. Um, yeah, I could see Chuck. No, I can't. See, that's the thing. Chuck even knows he's not that great of an actor, and that's his whole gig. He's almost like Jackie Chan or something. He sells a personality. See, Jackie Chan can do all the um, what Buster Keaton and type stuff or whatever, Harold Lloyd, whatever his name is. He can do all that stuff. Um, and that's kind of his thing. As we're, same with Chuck. He sells a persona. It's not about acting. It's about his look. Um, yeah. Here's the part where we meet Chuck's mentor, and Chuck's mentor is clearly the template for Sam Elliott in Roadhouse. It's just like a dude with a mustache. He's just old grizzled veteran. Chuck and Seagal team up. Who would have been good? See, I'm a big, out of all the second tier action dudes, Chuck's one of my main guys, right? Like I would say, Van Damme is probably maybe a little more interesting. Actually, I would probably take most Chuck movies. The body of work, Chuck versus Van Damme. That's a tough call. Let me know in the chat. What do you think? Comments later. Hey, Don, Rip Chick Norris. Did you ever see Sidekicks with Norris and Jonathan Brandis? Juno, yes. Um, to me, Sidekicks is weird. Sidekicks is kitsch Chuck Norris. That's a smaller category. It's not good nor bad. Like it's kind of bad, right? It's a Karate Kid ripoff, and it's got Piscopo in the bad guy role playing the Jonathan Crease or whatever. Um, but that kid Jonathan Brandis later on he passed away. So I think later on a lot of people went back and revisited it. That's another one that was on cable all the time. It was an afternoon classic because it was kind of family wholesome or whatever. But Chuck is basically like what in the Miyagi role. Uh, when I was a kid, Chuck Norris got so famous he had a cartoon and a comic book. I think I have a few issues of the comic book actually. It's a Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. They made like toy line for it, and yeah, Chuck Norris was a comic book star. So this is just basically he busted these cattle ranchers or these cattle thieves, and then he went to his mentor's retirement party where they gave him the golden watch or golden star or whatever. And Chuck's just walking around being Chuck. Like I think he's maybe had like 4 lines of dialogue so far. It's a lot of just hero shots of him. Code of Silence is his favorite Chuck Norris movie. Really? Like I say, I'm surprised at the ones people like. Silent Rage is another classic good Chuck. I've done that before on the channel. I did that with a double feature with Charles Bronson's 10 to Midnight. Silent Rage is basically just Chuck Norris versus Michael Myers. But he in that one he does this same Texas Karate Man thing that I don't totally understand the mixture of, but somehow works. Let's see here. Delta Force is great. Rip, yep, I would do that. Is Up the Creek a cult classic? Actually, I kind of think it is. I saw Up the Creek in the theater, but that's another one that was huge on VHS because it had like a wacky Animal House type cover, and it was very like they pushed that same audience. Actually, isn't even connected to Animal House, like through the same college or whatever. I don't remember. But yeah, I enjoyed Up the Creek. So personally, to me, it's a cult classic, but that's the thing with cult classics. There's an audience for it, all those movies, like Rocky Horror Picture Show. Not everybody likes it, but the audience that does loves it. And Pee Wee's Big Adventure. A lot of people are like, this movie's stupid. Why is this guy acting this way? But the people who get it love it, and it becomes like a cult classic. You watch it over and over. Um, so yeah, I would say Up the Creek has its own audience like that. That's another one that has the same description. Saw it in the theater, saw it on VHS, watched it a bunch on cable. It's got flounder in it, right? Isn't that another connection to Animal House? I guess Don is out of touch with things like the lemon. I don't, whatever perverted things you're talking about. Um, I don't want to know. Have you seen Alien or Invasion USA, et cetera? They made $1 with movies. Yeah, as I mentioned, I watched that one of the first times I was ever on air for live streams. I watched with my friend Video Tasties on his channel, Sir Gareth. Be sure to check out that channel. He's awesome. But yeah, we watched this together, or we watched Invasion USA together. Um, right now, I'm living in Florida, and there's a part in there where the invasion kicks off in Florida, and all like there's, the palm trees and stuff or whatever in the background. So whenever Christmas time happens around here, I'm always like, oh, Invasion USA. Silent Rage is probably the only horror movie by the Chuck ever done. Michael Myers vibe. Um, didn't he do one that's like him versus a serial killer? That's like a, but it's all got like spooky vibes. I don't know. Or is there one where he's like a possessed guy? Or see, I always get the one with Lou Diamond Phillips mixed in there too. That blur of we're just gonna throw these people into these movies in the '90s just went past me. Let me see here. Norris had them play Eastwood music when he walks on the scene in the Expendables. Well, that's the thing, though. Chuck is part of that Expendables crew. You know, the all those action stars from the '80s. He has to be in there. He's one of the main dudes. So here's the first appearance of Carradine. Carradine, we can probably spend the next 20 minutes talking about. Oh boy. He's a fascinating dude, super weird, famous, legendary Hollywood drug addict, totally whacked out of his mind, insane, eccentric. Um, he died from autoerotic asphyxiation. Um, for those of you who don't know what that is, I believe he had something around his neck or had a bag over his head while he was masturbating, and he died that way. Um, he's also kind of that's one of the things people talk about him first thing. I think he was the belt actually. Um, uh, but he was famous for being in the old TV show Kung Fu back when I was a kid, like in the '70s. Later on when I was a kid in the '80s, they had like a lot of the old reruns on late at night. Obviously, when I'm watching it. So, not to mention that interesting tidbit about David Carradine. He's also Bill in Kill Bill. I have an uncle who shot him in a movie. Maybe we'll get to that in a minute. I'm getting way behind on the chat, and I should catch up. Little teaser for you. That's what they call a teaser in the business, kids. Could Chuck Norris been a good Riggs? I kind of think so. That's one of the things about Chuck, though, is before Lethal Weapon comes along, and there's that whole like the lone wolf cop who wants to do his own thing. Dirty Harry's obviously the godfather of that. I mean, all them old noir movies got dirty cops doing stuff, but as far as like even French Connection, Popeye Doyle kind of half dirty, but Dirty Harry, he's just on the side of justice. He's just evil or whatever, like judge, jury, and executioner, or whatever you want to call it. He plays by his own rules. So that's how this character is. But this is 1981, so it's way ahead of any like Lethal Weapon and some of the other stuff that comes along. I keep thinking of that the police captain in Last Action Heroes. Oh, I said you gotta behave. The steam coming out of his ears. That's what I always think about the lone wolf cop. Chuck is John McClane. I don't know. I don't know. See, like I say, Chuck is a bad actor. The whole thing with Die Hard is it's like a classy movie, like an interesting drama. And if you took all the action and explosions and kind of bloody feet with the glass and stuff and just had a dude running around a building hiding from these terrorists, you could sort of tell the same movie without it being a big action movie. So there's a lot of like acting that really goes into Die Hard. That's part of the reason Bruce Willis kicks ass in that role. But like I say, he's kind of just a vibe. He's like an early template for Stone Cold Steve Austin or something. It's like Stone Cold Steve Austin meets Barry Gibb. Shout out to my Bee Gees fans. Echo says Voyager is where Robert Beltran was from. Did I enjoy Chuck Norris fight between Bruce Lee and Way of the Dragon? It was very, very no holds barred. Yeah, that's like I say, Chuck got famous. I think he was kind of on the scene in the '70s when people were interested in karate and all that because he was one of the best karate dudes around. But then when he fought Bruce in that movie, and then that people were like, "Oh, I like this guy. That's a good fight." He kind of spun off. That happens. Randall Tex Cobb got a career from fighting people. So, Chuck he's an early predecessor to, Jeff Speakman and Michael Dudikoff ought to write Chuck a check every time. A Chuck a check? They had to write Chuck a check like every time they made a movie. The American Ninja vibe is just funny to me. It's a very America thing to do. Like, well, we discovered these cool things, ninjas. It's like, yeah, but they're too Eastern. How do we make them more American? Okay, Michael Dudikoff. Lee Van Cleef is a ninja. How about that? What about what's his name? Timothy Van Patten? Is that who Lee Van Cleef and the Master? Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent about this old kung fu TV show that's been made into a bunch of little series of movies called The Master. A lot of old men, white ninjas in the 80s. God love them. So here, Chuck is, finally some action is happening again. Chuck's getting back to his ranch. He's out in the middle of nowhere. He's driving super fast. And old boy from Voyager, as I just learned, is chasing him. Like I said, to me, he's Hector. I'll probably call him Hector this whole damn movie. You ever seen Night of the Comet? There's another cult classic, as it were. The Carousel and Hero and Terror of the Plague for that. Chuck and Mako worked together twice. Yo, yeah, what's up, Anthony? Where are you at in your memoirs, buddy? I think I skipped over that. I was kind of in a hurry doing things here, getting started. Oh, we got an ad break coming. Good, I can catch up on chat. I like Elkie Jones, who actually the boy and his dog, and with an edge and the knife, and then the gift recipient. Hey, give a coin. Let's here. Gareth would be a splendid Chuck Norris villain. Chuck, I think Gareth would be an awesome like any American movie where they have like the British bad guy because he needs to be really smart. Like that's the thing, that accent. Like he always just sounds so much more intelligent. Arnold number one, and Gareth is pretty damn smart. That's part of the reason I love him. He's a clever, dry-witted dude. Putin doesn't give orders without asking Chuck first. There's one for you. There's someone behind you. There is. Is that like a joke? Is he trying to get me to jump? He's sitting on your sofa and he has a phone. I don't believe you. Silent Rage and Hellbound and Hero and Terror, Chuck style. Um, be careful, the sofa sitter isn't a slasher. I don't think I don't get it. Are we talking about the movie? This isn't the one where he's against the serial killer. This is the one where he's doing kung fu with. Basically, we're waiting for Chuck Norris to fight the dude from Kung Fu. Kane. What do you think? The story is they stole that show from Bruce Lee. At least that's Bruce Lee's side of the story. I would say Mako was the Miyagi role. Was okay. So what? Chuck was just the mentor, or like the big brothers, big sisters type thing in Sidekicks. Been a minute since I'd seen Sidekicks. Like I say, it was a watered down version of Karate Kid to me. Tim Matheson and Animal House and the Up the Creek connection between the two. Oh yeah, there you go. And then yeah, wasn't like I said, wasn't Flounder in it or a Flounder ripoff? Mr. Bones says, I'm sure it's a family member. David Carradine? No. Cal says, hello. Hi, how are you guys? What's up, Cal L, Superman? Glad to have you here, buddy. Cal, what's your favorite favorite Superman movie? What's your favorite Chuck Norris movie? Uh, and there's another one back to you. Would Chuck Norris have made a good Superman, even with the beard and the mullet? Yes, I remember that party you did with Gareth. Thanks. Yeah, I love me some Gareth. I've done a handful of watch-alongs. I've done a couple Steven Seagal's, Invasion USA with him. Um, we'll have to do some more Chucks on this channel. I had intended to get to this and the Octagon and an Eye for an Eye and a few of my other favorites, A Force of One. See, now they're all coming back to me. I was kind of, getting settled in for the show. Chuck with a dope shirt. We just started back up. He's got like this kind of James T. Kirk, the kind of the flap down. Looks very militaristic with the buttons, but at the same time, very cowboy. I dig I dig the star look on it. And then they have to soften him up. He can't be an ass the whole time. So we see his ex-wife and his daughter. He's a good guy. They just couldn't stay together because he's too busy out, breaking balls, man. I got to drink beers and play with snakes and go arrest people. God damn it. Let's see here. Have you seen Robert Carradine, Billy D. Williams action comedy number one with a bullet? I have not. Robert Carradine's kind of one of those sneaky actors. Like I say, I don't think of like myself as big Robert Carradine fan, but then at the same time, every time he turns up in something, I'm like, he's good in this. Revenge of the Nerds, right? Let's see here. Chuck is himself in Men in Black, then turn into an alien. Did that happen in one of the Men in the Blacks? I think I only saw the first two Men in Blacks. I'm still behind. So here we see that his daughter has this army guy. I think he's an Air Force guy, boyfriend, fiance type or whatever. And he's got this muscle car. So that's setting up for something fun later. But of course, they're going to kill this square jawed rascal off. Like I said, it's been a minute. So if this dude turned out to be working with bad guys, I wouldn't be surprised. No, he's going to be killed. He's fodder. He ought to just have a Star Trek red shirt on. Speaking of Star Trek. Um, oh, and Chuck's friendly. Oh, see, don't be scared. Bruce Lee versus Chuck. It might be the greatest kung fu fight. It might be. I'm doing a '90s comedy top 50 list. There's a lot of decent one. I was thinking about comedies. They're weird because they're sort of phased out right now. They're not really profitable in the theater. A lot of just comedies in general are retreads. It's you either do the wacky adventure, some sort of like after hours ripoff. Like a dude goes out to do a thing, bunch of stuff happens, and it's insane. um, or you do the Groucho, the funny person who's just out interacting in the world. Hell yeah, a little person. I love that about that. David Carradine's like main henchman is like this little person guy, and you can tell he's got all this gravitas. He's got a good beard too on that guy. He's very happy. Chuck him a chunk of check check. Hello, right? Oh, I'm that far behind on this. Jeez. Who's behind you? I don't know. Is that like the old Tupac thing? Who shot you? That's his talent manager. Gareth leering from behind computer. Yeah, Gareth is everywhere. Hey Don, Rip Chuck Norris. And my favorite film of Chuck is Silent Range. Matthew Benny, what's up? I mean, hello people. For those of you who aren't familiar with Matthew, he's awesome. He's got a video store slash gym, and he does reviews from there. It's like, especially if you're from another country, they're extra awesome. They're a little dose of Mad Max going on with Matthew Benny. Hello, people. Yeah, he likes Silent Rage as well. I mentioned I did Silent Rage already on the channel as a watch along way back as like the second or third watch along I ever did, because to me that's one of the ones I thought about a million times in the middle of the night. You It's scary and creepy. It's like I say, it's Chuck versus Michael Myers. Before we had Freddy versus Jason, we had Chuck Norris doing roundhouse kicks on a ripoff of Michael Myers. They sprinkle in just enough Frankenstein to make it interesting, and they don't get sued. Gareth would be good. What about Bob Doctor? I agree with that. If you're messing with us about no one on the couch, but there literally is, just turn around, fool. I don't know what you're talking about. Chuck Norris in The Return of the Dragon. The fight is great. Honestly, Walker is my favorite of his work. Yeah, that's like his image. Like he crafted that, and I'm still fascinated by it. That East versus West. Like he's a cowboy, but he does karate. Don't quite make sense. There's that became a niche later on. Roadhouse is kind of just this. Um, but between this and Silent Rage, with that sort of Texas Ranger who also will kick you in the face with his karate boots or his cowboy boots, um, that sort of set the template for Walker Texas Ranger, and that became like a huge success. And that's where people sort of thought of Chuck Norris. Um, and then he sort of fizzled out, and then the resurgence of him through myth with the Chuck Norris jokes thing. Um, at one point, I became less enchanted with Chuck Norris in the early thousands. I think it was because he tried to sue for the rights to Chuck Norris jokes. Like if anybody published one, made a book, or put it on a T-shirt, whatever, coffee mugs, he wanted a cut. He wanted to copyright that. And I feel him; it's his name, but everybody else comes up with the jokes. They do all the work. It's just a tribute to you. Your career got lifted up by it. You need to quit whining about it. But Chuck spent a lot of the back end of his career doing like political stuff and other things, pushing stuff on late night TV, doing infomercials for weird products and stuff. So the early Chuck, early '80s Chuck, up through up through the '90s, really. Um, that Chuck, pretty badass. Every Chuck after that, diminishing returns, less and less. Let's see. I'm way behind in this chat. He might have been a good Jor-El. I could see it. Rename Chuck Wolfgang Norris. Gareth and the Mafia, you come today and ask what bring you should talk about Gareth. Babe, why didn't you tell me my brother was here? Your brother is here. What are you talking about? Is that code? Like wrap up the show for loving or something? Like, what does you mean your brother's here? I'm not getting it. I'm a little slow today, though. But anyways, that's Mrs. Night Owl. I love you, babe. Thank you for watching the show from the bedroom while she messes with baby Night Owl. Right now, Mrs. Night Owl is pregnant with little Lily inside of her. If you'd like to get chip in something and get Lily something off the baby registry. We have one on Amazon, so there's a link there. You can get her some diapers or nipples or formula. Oh, we're gonna need nipples or formula and diapers. But yeah, or if you're just curious what baby stuff looks like, what would Don's baby want? Um, yeah, there's a link. It's pinned to the top of the chat. I usually pin it in the top of the comments. Baby's due in about a month, but she's indicating she's going to come early. So if you're a person who's inclined to try to do something sweet for a little baby coming into the world, that would be very, very much appreciated. A bunch of you have sent stuff already, and you're very nice. I love you very much. Thank you for that. Anyways, back to me begging for stuff for a small child. Speaking of small, that little guy with the beard and I believe he's in a wheelchair as well. He's got like a real Master Blaster vibe to him. He's watching David Carradine in this sort of exhibition fight. So apparently we have to establish that David Carradine is a badass because later on when it builds to him and Chuck having their showdown at the end, you know. But David Carradine is famous for kung fu. I don't know if you've ever seen kung fu. It's one of my favorite lines in Office Space. He's like, "You want to go home with me and watch kung fu?" And she's like, "Yeah, I love kung fu." And that's how he knew that he was in love. Kung fu was on a bunch when I was a kid. It was often on the afternoons on Saturday. If there wasn't a karate movie on, I would watch kung fu. Um, it's basically the same type of thing, this Chuck Norris vibe I'm rambling about, where it's just this dude who grew up in the Orient. I don't know what the proper non-racist terminology is these days. Anyways, he grew up somewhere in the East, and he trained. I'm assuming China. I don't know. He learned all these different. He became a karate master, a kung fu master, as the show would have you lead. Understand. But then he was in the Old West, so he's just traveling around beating people up like High Noon with Jackie Chan, or what's that what it's called? Shanghai Noon with Jackie Chan. High Noon's a different cowboy movie. Um, he's smoking one of those old school Clint Eastwood cigarettes, but I swear to God, it looks like David Carradine just kicked this dude's ass in an exhibition karate match and then started smoking a blunt. Actually, I think that might be a blunt. It's David Carradine. Now that I think about it. Speaking of David Carradine, I had mentioned earlier that my uncle shot David Carradine in a movie once. Um, Carradine did a movie called Cloud Dancer, and my uncle was dating a woman who worked on the set. I want to say makeup. I don't know what she did there. But yeah, some woman who was on the set, and he drove up to pick her up one day while they were out on location. The dude who was supposed to play I believe he was an FBI guy, or maybe I think he was the henchman for the coke lord that David Carradine was smuggling cocaine in his airplane for. Um, and there's this whole thing where David Carradine's plane lands, and then this car pulls up, and two dudes get out, and one of them's my uncle. Apparently, they needed someone to step in. They just had him. Can you pull a gun out and fake fire it? So he shoots David Carradine in a movie. Carradine gets in his plane and flies away. But to this day, I hold that as a badge of honor. It's like, yeah, I have an uncle who shot David Carradine. So here's Chuck doing Chuck stuff. Um, his David Carradine will try to challenge Chuck to a fight, and Chuck's a man of peace. He's not going to take this. He's got to stay zen and whatnot. He's got his denim shirt on, and it's the same style as that one I mentioned before, the cool Star Trek flap down job. Um, so him and his mentor here, straight Roadhouse. Although Roadhouse comes like 6 years later, and then here David Carradine can't get Chuck to fight, so he gets his henchman to go start a thing with Chuck's boy. So Chuck, of course, ain't gonna let that happen. And Chuck beats up like a whole dance floor full of dudes, just throws them around, hip tosses. You kicked four or five of them because it's Chuck. Lots of they throw a punch, he dodges it, and then like grabs their arm and throws them 50 feet. And then Little Man Villain just laughs. Oh, this is brilliant. Actually, I forgot how great this is. No wonder I loved it as a kid. Carradine also is a classic. I mentioned he comes from a famous Hollywood family, the Carradines. You can Google them. There's a bunch of them. I can't even remember off the top of my head. There's so many. They're like the Fondas or whatever, the Arquettes. Yeah, what is my man's name? The his buddy, the ripoff of Sam Elliott. L.Q. Jones. This movie's good for some initials. It's got L.I. Kennedy, L.Q. Jones, and R.G. Armstrong. Lot of initials in Lone Wolf McQuade. Maybe the best initial movie ever. Favorite movie with people with too many initials? I don't know. Is that too niche? Um, so here, Chuck turns down the fight with David Carradine, and David Carradine's lady just comes and scoops him up and takes him away. So, Chuck, you're looking for trouble, all right? Carradine's trying to be this philanthropist kung fu man, as we all are in our life. And his woman's just looking to mess around with Chuck Norris because she likes that new beard. But I've mentioned this before. I mentioned this when I watched Invasion USA. Damn near every Norris movie that's ever existed, Silent Rage, all of them, he goes into a bar and has to beat up the bar at some point. Like if Chuck Norris comes into the bar, fight about to happen. He has anger control issues. Someone's getting hit with a pool cue. So there, this Chuck sits down, and this is the old. It looks like it's going to be the swerve, right? His lady friend smacks the thug who's trying to hit on her, and it looks like no, it's not going to happen. But of course, Chuck ends up beating up people. That's what Chuck do. Um, okay, you purposely looked at the corner and not the couch. I don't. There wasn't a couch. There was a pool table, but there wasn't a couch. He's pretending he isn't Mrs. Night Owl. Mrs. Night Owl is a rascal, and that is maybe no, she's in the bedroom with the baby. Thanks, Don. Only video store gym in Australia. It's very possible. They're limited. Chuck and Age of Innocence is Daniel Day Lewis or the client and Tommy Lee Jones. How about Chuck as Chewbacca in Star Wars? Um, if you told me Chuck was going to be Magnum PI, I would believe that. That's a decent one. Chuck and Tom Selleck are mildly interchangeable. Selleck's obviously a way better actor, but Chuck is more believable as far as like action star. Uh, Kayla says, Top Dog, Odd Plot. There was a series of those movies too, and he just jumped on that train. Like after Kindergarten Cop, there was a whole bunch of like cop type movies or whatever, and then after like what was it, K9 and what's the one with Christian Slater? What's that one? Puffs? Is that what it's called? I forget. There's one with Christian Slater, I think, with a dog, and then Tom Hanks that did Turner and Hooch. I think that was the big one that got all the money, and then everybody had a ripoff after that. And I think Top Dog showed up in that. Um, Go slap him, Mrs. Night Owl. She can't. She holding a baby. Don't be weird. Definitely not a code. Okay, thank you. So I'm that far behind. I'm sorry. I'll catch up. So basically, the David Carradine's woman has snatched up Chuck and she's taken him away. She's got a very Maria Conchita vibe. What's her name? It's Barbara Carrera. Okay, I thought I recognized her. Yeah, she's sort of in this era. She turns up a lot as the babe in these type movies. She's got an exotic way about her. Where's your flair? Oh, we're talking about Office Space. Yeah, Kung Fu. I saw clips of Kung Fu in episode 2 of Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. Oh, I forgot about Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. Yeah, that was one that was another. Like I say, I'm late at night, so I've seen all that Xena and Hercules and Briscoe County Jr. and all that or whatever. So yeah, that's how Kung Fu Legend Continues often turned up into my life. This is funny. I like seeing the person there. It's like a Greek chorus or an interactive helper. What person? We're watching Lone Wolf McQuade. I think maybe we're not synced up. I'm at the oh boy, where am I? I'm at the 1 minute. Oh no, that is not right. I'm at the 38 mark. So I've had this on for about 40 minutes. Um, this one doesn't have Tubi's good. The commercials when they come, they come and go. They don't really hold me up. There's about an hour and 8 minutes left on this one. Lou Gossett Chuck style. C. Norris. Uh, Anthony Sausage and Eggs, good meal. The scene he bet them up they're good. Tatooine Ranger, I like it. Um, yeah, here Chuck realizes something's happened to Sally McQuade, and he comes running in. Chuck runs good. He runs well, I should say. Oh no, something happened to his daughter. This is classic 1980s hero stuff right here. Um, Boomer wants to know who's the bro in the back. Uh, I don't know. Anthony would be a good action comedy. What dude in the back? Is this like I don't know. I don't know. At this point, I think the dude in the couch down and you're in the joke together. I've caught up with all the stuff in the chat. Okay, fair enough. Where's my beer? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, Lone Wolf McQuade. Yeah, my man's truck is sort of famous. He's got this like souped up truck with the monster engine, and then later on they bury him in it like it's his tomb. So it's sort of Chekhov's Dodge Ram Charger. But then when he bursts out, um, I believe there's like an error. Oh, I missed the one earlier. Damn it! Somewhere around like the 11-minute mark when they were doing a scene, an actual car accident happened in the background, and I was busy kind of talking about stuff. I forgot to mention it. Um, but later on, when he does the famous scene where cracks a beer, there it is. Well, later on when he cracks a beer and he slams on the gas and he drives out of the bursts out of the grave they have him in, it ends up when they go to the wide shot, he's in reverse. Like he guns it and goes forward, but then when he bursts out in the ground, it's in, whatever. Uh, 59th is here. He says, "Hi, Don, a guy on the couch from Half Baked." That's exactly what I said when I talked about this. Oh, hi, 59th. Kayla's cracking up. Oh, baby, I love you. She's lucky. She's in there with little baby Night Owl Mia, and Mia's hilarious. So that's probably what she's laughing at. So I'm on ad 1 of 5. I just bragged on how great Tubi is about the ads, and then they're going to hit me with like 2.5 minutes of them. So let's see here. Look at your Night Owl blanket on the wall, Don. How about that? Cash me outside. How about that? Where was I in between sips of beer? Everyone in the room of Don vote on best comedy of the 90s and favorite Chuck mustache length and in what? Um, like I say, I like Beard Chuck. Mustache Chuck is all right. He's a younger man in the mustache movies. I think he may be An Eye for an Eye and Force of One and Octagon. I believe those are all Mustache Chuck. This I believe is first Beard Chuck, and then that's really establishes that sort of Texas outlaws look to him. He's just trying to be a normal tough guy in those other movies. I'm loving 59th and Mr. Bones. Yeah, they're fun dudes. I love those guys. By the way, welcome 59th. Glad you are here. Howdy, all of you movie fanatics. I am getting some dinner going, so I'll be in and out for a minute. Yeah, I know you're a fan of Chuck Norris and all these old school classics. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you who make it here in the middle of the night. That's what I do. I can't sleep, so I love movies. So I watch them rather than sit there and lay in bed and toss and turn and stare at the ceiling in a dark room. I watch a movie. So why not watch movies with y'all? See, I did a Texas flair just like Chuck Norris. It's currently 2:09 Eastern Time, so that would be 1:09 Central Time, and do the math yourself on everything else in the world because I'm too lazy. Let's see here. He's having fun driving us batty, Mrs. Night Owl. Oh yeah, Kayla knows that I'm a bit of a problem at times. I like the chap by the sign. What chap by the sign? Oh, did you see the new Night Owl stuff? Oh, that's right, I didn't upload it yet. I was in the process when the show started of uploading some new merch to Night Owl Movie Talk Teespring. So yeah, there'll be some new stuff later tonight after the show, hopefully. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna be on till like 4 in the morning. But yeah, there's a cool owl like right by the sign logo. Like there's the little owl chap, like you mentioned. But thank you for the preview and the shout out. I appreciate it. Great minds think alike, broski. We are in the Temple of Doom Scrollers. You had me cracking up because nobody else got that joke where I was like, "What's the best Indiana Jones movie?" And I named 4 of them. Right? You got it right away. You're like, no love for the stupid Crystal Skull. Are you a Seagal or Chuck fan? I like all. I mean, most of these people of this era, I'm a fan of. I made a joke about Jeff Speakman and Dudikoff and stuff before. I like all these folks, but for 80s action ass kickers, excuse me, a little bit of, yeah. For 80s action ass kickers, my guys are Arnie and then Sly, but then Chuck and Van Damme are right there. Then Seagal's a little bit beneath them, and then you start getting down to the Speakmans and Dudikoffs, and later on, Michael Jai White and uh, you know, um, Dolph Lundgren, and some of them the later '90s crowd and early thousands crowd that took over, but the classics to me are the Mount Rushmore, if you will. The Mount Rushmore of all action. That's a good question, though. That's got to be what, like John Wayne, Bruce Willis, Arnie, and Sly. Keanu Reeves. Who would you bump off? Sly for Keanu Reeves? Yeah, that's probably what I would do. Give me your Mount Rushmore of action people, action stars, I should say. Mr. Majestic, I like when Bronson. Oh, that's right. I forgot Bronson, dude. Bronson might be there Hall of Fame for me. Oh, I need to seriously rethink this whole Mount Rushmore thing. This is what happens when I try to pick my favorite anything when it comes to movies. It's like there's too many good options. You know, as I was mentioning about these Chuck Norris movies, I don't have a favorite Chuck. There's good Chuck and there's bad Chuck. Maybe I discover bad Chuck is actually good Chuck, and sometimes I watch a good Chuck and find out it was a bad Chuck. And eventually I'm just finding out how much Chuck Don can Chuck, and if he could Chuck would. Something I really just wanted to finish that up after hearing myself say Chuck 90 times. But yeah, good Chuck, bad Chuck. You know, same with Bronson. There's good Bronson, there's bad Bronson. Death Wish 1 and 2. Actually, all those Death Wishes are technically kind of bad. When you watch them now, they're a bit cringe. But at the same time, they're Death Wish. They're awesome. You know, the villains are so over the top and awful. It's hard not to enjoy them. And a Chuck Norris fan technically be a Steven Seagal fan, right? I don't know. I'm sorry, Mr. Bones. He likes driving people crazy, right? That's what I'm saying. Nobody knows better than that poor woman. Merlin Olsen and Chuck Norris are using science that makes them stay alive. I think Ted Williams style science they're going to use. He set that up in 2022. It's very possible that whole freeze your head thing. So, anyways, the movie I haven't commented on in a bit because we had a commercial break and then Chuck came back. And this is where we see old Robert Beltran Hector. He punches out some people. Excuse me. He punches out some people, and we see Chuck, he earns Chuck's respect. And then this turns into Double Dragon. He comes walking, and a dude comes running out of the door, tries to hit him with a baseball bat. Then he walks a few more steps, and so a garage door goes up, and a guy comes out and tries to hit him with a board with a stick, you know, a nail in it. Shout out to Double Dragon. Let's see here. Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, Van Damme, Brandon Lee, and then somewhere down the line further, Steven Seagal. I do love Seagal's early work and have a massive collection of his VHS, around 65 tapes. Wow, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Seagal has good Seagal and bad Seagal. There's a few Seagal I really enjoy. You know, I like Mark for Death, and is that called like Nico overseas or something? And also one of them's also known that Mark for Death, and then what's the other one? Out to Kill, something like that. Um, um, those are good. There's one or two others. What's the one on the plane? Executive Decision. That's a good twist. If you haven't seen that one with Seagal, check that one out. Then it's the perfect use of Seagal. Um, but then Bad Seagal, like his low budget direct to DVD, direct to red box, direct to garbage cans career, like some of the movies he had. Now, did you ever see what's it called, like the China Salesman or something like that? Him and Mike Tyson. That's one of the worst movies ever made. One of the worst movies ever made. Speaking of worst movies ever made, I did a review for this movie called Things. I started doing reviews. I mostly did them on shorts, but then they do well. To this day, my catalog of short reviews gets hits all the time. So I was like, well, why don't I start doing these in video form too, and then try to get watch hours up, blah blah blah. By the way, if you'd like to help me out, watch some old videos. I could use the watch hours. But in there, I did a review for Things. I did a review for The Thing, John Carpenter's, which is like, you know, one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's a 10 out of 10. And then I did a review for Things, one of the worst movies I've ever seen, 1 out of 10. So I did a review for it, and the director, Barry J. Gillis, popped up in the comments and was cheering me on. So shout out to him for So, shout out to him for being a good sport. I say, even though it's the terrible movie and probably the worst one ever made, that you should check it out because it's funny, and you know it's like Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's a good goof on movie. So Barry gets that he knows that anybody watching it is because it's so awful. So here Chuck's chasing the bad guy that he went to go see in this warehouse where he had to do the big double dragon fight. Um, but he's going to have to jump on the back of a moving pickup truck because of course he is. It's a Tuesday. That's what Chuck Norris does. That was funny. Chuck Norris always has terrible stunt bloopers, man. There you could see he was hanging on the back of the truck and his feet were dragging. And when they cut to a wide shot, you could see the knee pads. And then when they cut to a close shot, it looked like it's like, sweat and dirt and stuff. But you could clearly see the knee pads in the first shot. And now this is just Chuck Norris doing truck parkour. Truckcore? Chuck Truckcore. That's a good alias. Hi, I'm Chuck Truckcore. Uh, Let me see here. He's in the Upside Down. Oh, like Stranger Things. Yeah, Stranger Things, good stuff. I miss Stranger Things. Actually, I don't know if I miss Stranger Things. I think I had just enough Stranger Things. They did the right amount of Get Out right now because if it keeps going, then people aren't going to watch anymore. Oh, a swerve. Chuck's been fighting with this dude on, in the moving pickup truck the whole time. And then Chuck jumps off and his dumb ass slams into this tanker truck full of gasoline. And then this fool turns on the engine and, he's going to blow up. Oh, Chuck saved him. Oh, snap. Chuck saved the truck. Truck save. Oh, wow. That was total desperado. He, he ran away from the explosion carrying old buddy. I can't place my man where he's from. I keep confusing him with the guy who played Bob from Batman. No, none of their names are on here. That's the thing with this movie. A lot of folks I don't know. Like even the director was Steve Carver or whatever. I was like, I don't know who that is. I think the big thing he did was Big Bad Mama, the old exploitation movie. So yeah, like I said, this uh, mentor character he has, this old like cowboy buddy with the mustache who's just total Sam Elliott. Um, he's he's got this bad guy they've captured tied up. And you can see it's the same thing. It's like you're Chuck's mentor. You were in such big trouble. Like we all know the formula for this. I can't think of this guy. He's in Blade Runner. Oh damn, what is his name? He's the dude that falls in love with Daryl Hannah in Blade Runner. I think he was what, Larry, Daryl, and Daryl, something like that. Was he Bob? No, Bob is a different dude from. That's what I'm saying. A different dude from Batman. But this is all just, yeah, classic Chuck Norris, Justified, Lone, Walker Texas Ranger, Cowboy, Roadhouse. Just karate ass kickery. Oh, let's see here. Where are we, folks? Hey, Karen is here. Hey, Don, my NightOwl mug should be here after a weekend. I can't wait. It'll be featuring in a vid. Thank you. I appreciate you drinking it. That gives it a lot of gravitas and class. You know what I mean? I will screenshot that and share it. My mouth ain't working tonight. Everything's a tongue twister, isn't it? Let me see here. I'm experiencing celebrity deathmatch burnout. Last year was too much. All right. Can you do Robert Altman movie rankings? What's the worst to best? A Wedding, Paul Newman, Sci-Fi Movie, Nashville, Macabre, Ready to Wear, If I Haven't Died, Vincent Theo, Play with Shortcuts. I like Shortcuts. And did Altman do MASH? Right. See, I'm not a big Altman guy. The times that the stuff I've watched of Altman, I like that style. I like all the overlapping dialogue. I like the just little intertwining stories. The I always call it the Tarantino style or whatever. Mixing stuff up, mixing up time, bouncing around, following folks. I liked that. Altman real dialogue heavy. A lot of people like Kevin Smith and other folks who really use dialogue driven stuff. Altman's sort of their mentor, whether they want to admit it or not, one of their senseis, since we're watching a martial arts movie. Bone says LMFAO. I love them, right? I'm in Miami, bitch. I'm in Miami. Oh, I wish they would get back together. Cheers to LMFAO. Am I right? Um, it's funny, Mr. Bones. The last stream I came from moderating has a moderator over called Mr. Haunted, a little bizarro world YouTube. Wow. That's the thing with tonight. All of you who are here, I appreciate you so much because It's a Saturday night. On my analytics, it says this is a night when, Friday and Saturday nights is when all my audience is around because my audience is built around night owl folks who are up late at night. And, Saturday and Friday nights are nights where people can actually stay up late. So I appreciate you. I understand you have a lot of choices and options here. So the fact that you're hanging out with me and watching, I get lonely sometimes sitting here by myself talking movies. The folks in the chat are the co-hosts. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I'd be flying solo. So I appreciate you here. Many more to add in there, such as Popeye Cookies, Fortune, Dr. Gingerbread Man, Brewster McLeod's Kansas City, mid high tier up there, Robert Alton, one of the greatest filmmakers ever. Yeah, that's what I mean. He's one I haven't really dug into that much because I'm sort of an admitted dullard, simpleton. I guess more of the proper term. Um, I like my crime dramas. I like my horror. I like my action. I like my sci-fi. I like my fantasy adventure. You know what I mean? I'm a nerd, I believe, as they call it, is the term, a dork, as it were. Um, so I like that stuff. So a lot of times, like more thinky, thoughtful, calm stories about people and trials and tribulations and life and growing into better folks. A lot of that stuff falls under my radar. I admit, I should be a little more highfalutin and educated. But I like genre popcorn cinema. I always have. That's part of the reason I'm watching Lone Wolf McQuade instead of I don't know what's a highfalutin movie. See, that's how bad I am with highfalutin movies. We could be watching what's his name, Ingmar Bergman. Got some Fellini up in this bitch. Get a little 8.5. Hi, I'm Don. It's late. I'm watching 8.5. I don't know what's going on. We're gonna watch The Bicycle Thief. Let's see here. Chuck is Ghostface. Make that for a trilogy. I'll watch that. So here, Chuck comes home and he finds the bad guy's girlfriend in his house cleaning it. That's some powerful sporking down right there, right? If she's ready to leave David Carradine for you and she's already in the crib cleaning the place and stuff. The Chuck Ghostface trilogy would be epic. Oh, I would watch all the Chop Face. Yeah, that's the thing. Chuck's out of all of them, believability is huge. And as I mentioned, to me, Stallone and Schwarzenegger are the top dogs because you just look at them and they look capable. All that ridiculous muscles makes them look that way. Um, but Chuck, much like Bruce Lee, it, he feels super capable. Like when you look at him, it's like, oh yeah, Chuck will sidekick his way out of this problem. You know, underneath Chuck Norris's beard is just a little tiny fist where a chin should be. I don't know. I'm still trying to think of other old Chuck Norris jokes. Um, and then here's where the classic scene is. He tells her, I don't want you here doing this. She leaves. They kind of argue, and then they end up playfully rolling around in the mud with the hose, and they make out like it looks like from here to eternity. But instead of the ocean like kind of barreling down the waves, it's just Chuck and old Barbara Cabrera rolling around in the dirty mud, which I'm sure is a fetish. That's got to be some sort of category on one of your famous favorite sites. First, like six Seagal movies are good, but now he just phones it in from the donut shop. Yeah, pretty much. That's what I mean. Some of the ones I've seen, like he's done a bunch with like Ja Rule and DMX and da da da. Wasn't there one that was decent with DMX? I want to say, but like Tretch from Naughty by Nature. Like if you're a fan of '90s rap, Steven Seagal has probably worked with some of your favorite folks. Um, do you have a movie podcast? Any rankings episodes? Well, technically, this is a podcast. Thank you for asking. I love when you guys set up my transitions. This show, when we watch them, I set them up as podcasts so folks can find them if they do want to watch along with their favorite movies or not. But that's available on Spotify, Audible, iHeart Music, Radio, all these things, Apple Music. If I'm not somewhere, please let me know. I'll try to find a way to get there. But as far as I know, thanks to Spotify doing the what's it called? Syndication. That's the word I drew a blank on. Fancy pants words. That means basically they sell. They have my podcast go everywhere. So if you have a favorite podcast server, Podbean, Stitcher, Yeah, whatever. I should be there, and you can find me there. This show available, but the best way to find this show is live and in person here late in the middle of the night on YouTube. You can find me at Night Owl Movie Talk on YouTube. Thank you for letting me do my plug, and I'll go back to watching this movie. Speaking of plugs, we got a damn commercial, 3 of 5, but the commercials are all less than 30 seconds, so they don't feel bogged down. Like sometimes I watch these streaming services and the commercials come up, and it takes forever. Thoughts on National Velvet? Is it due for a legacy sequel? Um, I wouldn't be surprised. That seems like a Disney thing, right? How about that as like a Pixar or some sort of like a Disney cartoon? The 1978 National Velvet sequel. She liked the National Velvet sequel. Clarkness joking. Does Clarkness say something and I missed it? No, I don't see it. Bicycle Thief is great. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. One of the things I would like to watch on this channel is Citizen Kane. I mentioned it the other night. It's one of my favorite old school movies, but it's just from a cinema standpoint, uh, so much can be talked about with what's going on in it. I've already watched Kong, the old 31. Um, I'll probably eventually get to Maltese Falcon. Uh, See, I would say like Psycho, but Psycho, I always think of it. Well, most of my life, I thought of it as like a early filmmaking movie, 50s and 40s and 50s, but it's like late 60s or whatever. Uh-oh, Chuck walked into a bar. Everybody run. Oh no, here's my man, the little man. Oh, dude, I love your beard and hair. Clearly, I saw this when I was a kid, and your look influenced me. Um, Patrick is here. Hoot hoot. Welcome, Cheetah. Nice to see you, my friend. Speaking of people I've collaborated with, I've been interviewed on Patrick's channel before. I've done live watch-alongs with him and filmmakers. Me and Larry are frequent bouncer in or outers of things on Patrick channel. So yeah, be sure to check out Have Cheetah Will View. I love me some Patrick. Nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for dropping by in the middle of the night. Exit Wounds is the one, yeah, with DMX and Steven Seagal. That's DSO. But like I said, after that, he's with Ludacris, he's with Tretch, he's with Mike Tyson. The people that turn up in his movies are an endless du jour. Well, I met my little man is evil here. Let's see here. Sup, Pat? Good guys wear black is another indeed that I have. Pluto Nash needed Chuck. Pluto Nash would have been much better with Chuck. A lot of those flopped comedies, you could just stick Chuck in there, and it would have been a better movie. Weird, I just received a Chuck movie this week and picked up three more. Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, with Chuck passing away, it caught me off guard because we just, like I say, he's kind of made himself into more of a myth than an actual person. I think the only time I ever hear about Chuck Norris as an actual man prior to his death was like when he was endorsing some right wing political candidate. Um, so when he passed away, I had mentioned I thought he was, it was an internet hoax. So I was busy doing stuff Thursday night, was it? I think I heard about it, something like that. And then Friday, I double checked, and sure enough, it was. So then I was too busy last night with things. So I decided tonight would be a perfect night to watch a Chuck Norris movie, as I had planned to watch them without poor Chuck dying. So I'm sorry it took Chuck dying to get me to watch this, man. I owe you an apology, Mr. Norris. You never saw the Maltese Falcon? No, no, no. I've seen. Yeah, those ones I mentioned are ones I've seen. Some of my favorite favorite black and whites. The original classic Gojira and um, yeah, just old black and whites. I love like a movie like uh, as I draw a blank on it, To Kill a Mockingbird. Like I love that. That's classic, awesome black and white that I would like to watch sometime. But I don't know if I could talk about To Kill a Mockingbird for 2 hours. Do a little classic anecdotes about the author and Gregory Peck and whatnot. I'm not sure I'm getting notification for him, or wasn't I getting through in the chat? I assume he stopped doing his channel. Who are we talking about? Oh, Patrick? I didn't know Patrick was still around. Keep on trucking. Heck yeah. Oh, yeah, we are talking about Patrick. Okay, cool. I almost unfollowed you. No, 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 no. Yeah, yeah. I'm a fan of classic cinema. Once I became a fan of movies, and as a kid, I loved movies, and they were just a thing. Like they were almost magical. I never really thought about people making them and what's the difference between a writer and a director. And I just thought Bill Murray was funny, and they put a camera on him, and he did stuff. So Later on, after I learned what everybody's role is, how things get made, where things come from, why this actor works with this actor all the time, all that stuff. Um, that's when I really started learning about movies. And then I went back. As a little kid, I watched a bunch of old school famous black and white awesomeness just because that was what was on in the middle of the night. But once I learned about film in the 90s and in the early thousands, that's when it's like, well, I need to go back and check out all these classics, you know? Peeping Tom, I'll probably watch on the channel sometime. It's color, but it's easy to talk about because it's kind of fascinating. There's a lot of interesting subtext there. A lot of old Hitchcock. I'm a big Hitchcock head. When I wanted to learn about old school movies and film history, I started with Hitchcock and Wells. Howard Hawks later on. That became one of my guys. Don, you should start an action. Patrick, you like? I think I pressed the wrong one. Well, that went by fast. Don, you should start an action comedy movie in Tampa Bay. Or I think about it sometimes. Actually, I've had a few. My itch to make something besides the discussion with film turns up every now and then, and I make something silly. So I've been wanting to do some sort of kung fu movie with my kids while they're this age. That it's cute and it doesn't look ridiculous. I had an idea for a horror movie trailer. I have a few things I'd like to shoot and get done. Actually, a couple horror movie trailers. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I actually will, but I should. But maybe I won't. We'll see. Is Peeping Tom good? Never seen it. Yeah, it's right up there with Psycho as the original like slasher movie, but it's got a little bit of something to it when the discussion. Chuck Norris versus Chucky versus Jason. Jason should have happened. Rip Chuck, right? What about Chuck Norris versus Chucky versus Jason versus Chuck Berry or Chuck Barris from the Gong Show? Have you seen Hitchcock's Shadow of a Doubt? It was his personal favorite. I have seen Shadow of a Doubt. Actually, I've seen almost all of Hitchcock's movies. Because I'm a Hitchcock head, I try to find ones I haven't seen. A lot of those fell into public domain, so you can find them in those box sets of like 10 Hitchcock movies for $4. Um, who was it? Turner Classic Movies, I think, used to do Hitchcock's birthday every year, like over the weekend, and they would just show Hitchcock movies. I think maybe over Thanksgiving weekend they used to do the same thing because I remember watching tons of Hitchcock marathons. So, Spellbound, Strangers on a Train is one of my favorites. The Man Who Knew Too Much is fantastic. I've always wanted to see, oh God, what's it called? The Lodger. It's like I believe it's a silent film, and then this dude who moves into some people's room for rent turns out to be Jack the Ripper, or they think he's Jack the Ripper. At least it's like a paranoia thing. I've never gotten around to it, but Hitchcock is one of my favorites because he was around during film starting and then evolving into modern cinema. Like I enjoy modern cinema more, but I like seeing where stuff came from. Turner Classic got me through some of my rough times back in 2010. Turner Classic's fantastic. I missed that experience. I don't watch cable as much and flip the channels anymore, but Turner Classic and AMC used to just be perennial. Like, let's check there first. Well, first let's check HBO and Cinemax or whatever pay channels you have, because that's where the new stuff is. And new is always more interesting to the brain. But then if you're looking for something after that, yeah, let's go see what's on TMC or TCM, AMC. Ooh, they're having a old Cary Grant festival. And you go through and you watch His Girl Friday and what's it called? What's the one about the newspaper? Is it called the newspaper? I don't know. His run of movies in the 50s is unmatched. Yeah, like I said, Hitchcock is fascinating, especially if you're trying to learn about the history of film, because he was there when it started. He worked through silent all the way up through color movies with nudity in the 70s. Frenzy has nudity in it. Um, he did the first what do you call it? Weekend at Bernie's. He did it. It was a movie called The Trouble with Harry, I think. It's about these people trying to lug around a dead body and the silliness of it. Hitchcock is just all over the place. It's funny to me right now. There's a little thing. Tarantino's been kind of an ass lately. Quentin Tarantino. He's one of the. I love him, and he's one of the reasons I got into learning about filmmaking. But in addition to like going after Paul Dano and a few other things, apparently he listed people who he thought were weak sauce actors, and he said Paul Dano and Matthew Lillard and a bunch of them. So he like just flamethrowed a bunch of folks. And one of the people Tarantino's been going after is Hitchcock. And I feel like that's Tarantino thinking he's going to somehow make people forget how great Hitchcock is so he can kind of move up on that Mount Rushmore discussion. And Tarantino's just not on that level. I love him. I find everything he does fascinating, but he's not there with Hitchcock, Spielberg, Orson Welles, Scorsese. Scorsese and him are close, but he's only made the 10 movies, and everything Scorsese's done. Pulp Fiction and Goodfellas. I like Pulp Fiction a little better, but it's neck and neck. Anyway, so yeah, Hitchcock lately has been in the news because Tarantino has been trying to like say not that great, not that great. Turner Classic Movies got through some rough times. Make Chuck Norris biopic streaming program based on the new information on this story. I would be interested in anything to do with Chuck Norris. So here it's in the middle of the night. Chuck's out in his cabin or his ranch out in nowhere, and him and David Carradine's former lady are getting on, and it's gonna be bad because the bad guys are coming. This is the era when Chuck was like, yeah, he was pretty much the only guy doing this in this early late 70s, early 80s run. And when I remember thinking he was just like the coolest guy when I was a little kid. Like I didn't know about Bruce Lee yet. And later I learned about Bruce and a bunch of other folks, and Chuck sort of faded away. But in this run of stuff here, Chuck was as big of a movie star as Burt Reynolds to me. But then later on you realize, not so good at the acting. A lot of the films he makes very heavy-handed and silly. Easier to make fun of than it is to actually enjoy. Yeah, he grew up in the silent era and definitely shows it in his movies. For me, The Hitman 1991, that was good fun, Chuck. No real problems, just a good fun actioner. My brain is weird. It only likes the old LOL, but I see why. It's the old films that are new to me. Yeah, I go through this too. I often think of myself as a person who only watches old movies, but doing this channel is good for me because I see like the movies I've talked the most about have been in the 2020s. Like I've made, several, more than 100 something videos have been about movies in the last 5, 6 years. But I think of myself who loves old movies because once you start watching old movies, you see where all the stuff they do in the new movies came from, and it's not impressive. It's like seen it before. So a lot of films that modern folks think are awesome, to me aren't, because it's like, yeah, it's just a bunch of cobbled together pieces of cool things from before. So here's big dramatic scene. He's in there getting it on with David Carradine's former lady, and they come by and kill his wolf. Part of Lone Wolf McQuade's aura, besides always having jeans on, even during a sex scene. How do you do that, Chuck? Um, is that he's got this pet wolf, and they, kind of like Snake Eyes from GI Joe. So they killed his wolf, and he's gonna go bury that wolf, and then he's gonna go murder them, and that's what Chuck do. 2004 and back is what I consider retro. It's funny to me. I think of retro as like basically anything from the time I was before I was born. Really, like anything 1975 and earlier is like old, and then anything after that, it's like old to normal people, but not me. But then, like sometimes I'll talk to people and I'll be like, "Oh, you ever see Airplane?" Like, no, I don't watch old movies. I'm like, get out of my sight! How dare you offend me like this? Chuck and Canada Waiting for the Ages. Yeah, Canon Films, Chuck was kind of the king of that too. So if you're a fan of the canon lore and the history and all that went with that, that's classic, that's Chuck. He was right there in that whole bit of business. Tarantino was mouthy, LOL, yo man. Yeah, that's the thing. I think Tarantino's become so enchanted with being like a not a rapper, but like his whole thing always is he's been sort of a rock star director. Like he puts himself out ahead of his movies. Like he does all the press. He's the guy that they want to talk to with the movie. Very rarely the stars in it. He'll do a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Leo's like secondary. Nobody cares. It's like, we'll interview him later. So he's very out there and out front. And I think years of being that kind of rock star persona and having a very huge ego about what he does and what he's accomplished, he's often just a massive dick, a massive spork. Speaking of spork, you can get yourself some Night Owl Movie Talk merchandise, including a spork T-shirt, a spork mug, spork stickers, items starting at like $5.99 or whatever the hell stickers cost. That's it'll be there's should be in the chat right the It should be in the description right now, but I always make sure it is afterwards when I go back and put in chapters and stuff. So if you're watching now or later, be sure to check out Night Owl Movie Talk at teespring.com. All right, now that the commercial's done and I've moved on from my plug, here's where we see Lone Wolf McQuade is really pissed off because now he's drinking Coors in the afternoon and he's got his gun on him, even though he's at home with his shirt off. I was like, he thinks enough that something could go down at any minute, so he's got his gun. Because after that wolf debacle, I bet. But it just looks ridiculous to me that you don't think enough about yourself to wear a bulletproof vest. It's like, hell no, I'll walk around shirtless with my chest hair out. The Paul Dano thing was ridiculous to me. He was criticizing someone acting like we all do. Um, yeah, like that. Well, when they talked about how rough it was, to me, it was more strange. Like, why the hell did you just snipe on that dude out of nowhere? Like, no one brought him up. He wasn't in the conversation. Like, why did he catch a stray? Same with Matthew Lillard. Like, what did Matthew Lillard do? Um, obviously I'm a big Tarantino head. I've watched a bunch of his stuff on the channel. Reservoir Dogs and Pulp, and From Dusk Till Dawn, which is kind of his. I did True Romance, which is, I mean, those are movies he wrote, so same thing. I actually prefer his writing more than anything. So I'm a big fan of his, but just right now, while he's saying crazy, insane stuff in the public, trying to get attention, it's like, dude, just go back to making movies. Quit trying to, like, I wish he wouldn't do that 10 movies thing. I wish he would work for, several more years and do what he's going to do. I think he wants to write. I wants to write a novel or two. I may have already written, I think, a novel. Um, I know he likes doing film criticism stuff, like Kevin Smith and all that. Totally Don Tarantino's my director as a teenager. He holds that crown 14 to 20 before I moved into David Lynch. Yeah, that's the thing. Film is like music or whatever. It's like you get your guy or your person that you're into, or your the person that you think this is what good stuff is, and then you kind of go through phases and try the different ones, and I remember Tarantino was one of the first ones that really made me pay attention. Kevin Smith. And then I went back and realized, well, all these movies that I really loved from being a kid were Spielberg or um, Joe Dante. Uh, and then later on, about the right age, Scorsese really took off with his stuff. Goodfellas and Casino and all that. And then I went back and watched After Hours and Mean Streets, and that's kind of the beauty of it. You find these people and you get into them. The Coen brothers. When I realized, man, I love that movie Raising Arizona. And then I was like, what other movies did they do? And I'm like, oh, I've seen Blood Simple, and I've seen this other one, and Fargo was weird. I don't know. And then you stumble onto The Big Lebowski, and it becomes one of your favorite movies of all time. So we're at commercials here. 105. This one was a 15-seconder. Good for them. He has no Hitchcock skills. Tarantino slurs and feet. Yeah, Tarantino does have a lot of racist slurs and the whole feet thing. Mrs. Night Owl cracks up whenever anybody's feet are bare in a movie. She's like, "Oh, Tarantino direct this." Uh, like that's my lady. She gets it. Tarantino's hates 80s movies. That's what bugs me. That's what I saw too one time. I've mentioned this before. I believe people's in are you know. Let me start over. It's kind of like psychology, right? Like people are very much influenced at a young age. They're most informative. What's the word I'm looking for? Or whatever, the stuff that makes you who you are when you grow up. Formative, that's the damn word I was looking for. My brain drew a blank. There's an awesome deal on Subarus right now. I was kind of like, huh? Your formative years, the stuff you watch then before you've been exposed to more stuff is generally the stuff you end up loving. So to me, I love stuff from the 80s because I was a little kid then. I'd never really seen much else. The stuff I watched in the middle of the night when I was a little kid, I didn't get why Bela Lugosi's Dracula was great. But when you watch Dracula and then you watch Jaws, Jaws is like the best movie ever. Or, like we were talking about Gunga Din the other night. If you watch Gunga Din, it's really cool, fun, interesting ride. It's an old black and white movie. But then you see Indiana Jones and you're like, oh no, this is the stuff right here. So to me, 80s movies are amazing. But I've heard like Rob Zombie and a bunch of other like people who grew up in the 70s say 80s to them are the worst movies ever. I don't really have a worst movies era. There's good stuff from most eras. The 2000s to 2010, mediocre. There's a few. high points in there, the Christopher Nolan Batman stuff and a variety of other things. The Matrix, well, even the Matrix was what, 2000, something like that. I don't know. The thousands was a weak year for me, but a weak time. But the 80s and the 90s, I love. Later on, when I went back and watched the 70s, there's a lot of just awesome stuff there. Even then, when you start to move into foreign films, like I remember the first time I watched a Kurosawa, I watched Rashomon, and I was like, there's awesome stuff everywhere. There's not enough hours in life to watch all these awesome movies, especially when you watch Lone Wolf McQuade like 9 times in your life. But it's Lone Wolf McQuade. It's Chuck. Rip Chuck. Tarantino does too much with feet. Thank you for still hanging in there and watching Mrs. Night Owl. You were amazing. Yeah, I don't get the feet thing. I'm more of a leg man myself. Yeah, we're all into our own things. I just think Tarantino ends up. That's a weird thing to handcuff yourself to be like, that's my thing that I'm going to be recognized for. Is I'm the feet guy. What was his name? Russ Meyer. It's like I'm the boob guy. Well, I guess Professor Macabre does that, and he's amazing. So I'll let it ride. But still, Reservoir Dogs is still my favorite Tarantino movie. That means a lot to me. Yeah, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, that whole run right there was fantastic. And then later on, when I found out he did True Romance or wrote True Romance, that might be my favorite because I like Tarantino's work through Tony Scott's eyes. I like that world, not Tarantino's world. Same with From Dusk Till Dawn. I like Tarantino's writing, but I like Robert Rodriguez's style. Um, a lot of this looks like Robert Rodriguez stuff to me. A bunch of times when the him as a ranger running through the halls of a hospital, he looks like something from Planet Terror. So now here, Chuck and his crew are gonna go out and see what David Carradine's up to, and he realizes that he's like this big time drug smuggler guy, and there's only a half hour left in the movie. That's how long it took Chuck to just stop being Chuck and actually get on with the plot. Know him, met him, have had debates with him, having Mr. Pierre Meltdown lately in attempts to distract away from the fact that he's married. That's part of the problematic regime. I didn't know that. I mean, I know he was funded or he got married or whatever, but his new play is being funded by her family completely. Oh, well, that would make sense. Yes, terrific director. Just leave Hitchcock alone. Celebrate feet and slurs in the Delphonics and all that he has built. Yeah, that's what I mean. He has a cool style, and I'll always be grateful to him for getting me introduced to film and wanting to learn about film and where stuff come from. And when they're like Tarantino steals, but only from people that you don't really recognize it from. And I was like, what do you mean steal? What's that mean? And I learned about like, oh, okay, certain cool stuff nobody's ever done before. And then, if you just do your version of it, um, so that's the concept of stealing in a movie. I wouldn't even know what that was as sort of a novice film person. But that's what I mentioned earlier too. A lot of times I watch stuff now and it's like this is just a bunch of other stuff I've seen before. It's like a greatest hits cobbled together and stitched together. It's like a electronic music beat or something. It's a bunch of other stuff just stitched together. David Carradine's business must be huge because he's not only got like a hangar and a bunch of other stuff. He's got the airplane. He's got the Jeep. He's got the whole set. Like even if you were collecting action figures, this would be a ton. Let's see here. Yes, Clarkness, but famous, and then Four Rooms and Pulp Fiction, of course. Four Rooms, is that a Tarantino or not? I made Mrs. Night Owl watch it recently because whenever I light a lighter and it doesn't work, I'm like, oh, I lost my pinky. Oh, speaking of pinky, I'm still sitting in there with the fingernail polish that my 7-year-old daughter did. Thank you, Davina. That's lovely. She told me it was very rock star. So um, her mom wasn't around that day, and she wanted to paint nails. And frankly, I just needed to sit there and think about some stuff and work on some things. So she gave me a lovely manicure. Yes, Clark does have the second film I saw of his in Four Rooms, Pulp Fiction. Yeah, Pulp Fiction or Four Rooms. I don't know if I would count that as Tarantino or not. Same with Sin City. Some people try to say Sin City is one of Tarantino's movies because he does that little section with Clive and the Elvis and all that. But you can tell with him with Benicio del Toro's body and all that, it feels Tarantino-ish. Some of the dialogue, particularly. He should become a movie critic. I mean, if you're a Tarantino fan and you're looking for stuff of his to watch that you haven't seen or whatever, in the Tarantino universe. There's a movie called Killing Zoe or Killing Zoe. It's directed by Roger Avery. It's written by Roger Avery, but I think Tarantino helped do a punch up on it. But it's totally Tarantino stuff. Like Eric Stoltz plays basically that Lance character from Pulp Fiction. It's all about some dudes who are robbing a bank, and there's like a whole heroin thing going on and stuff. But it's very in the world of Tarantino without exactly being Tarantino. There's movies like Curdled, where it's about this woman who cleans up after murder scenes. And on the TV and there, and then a bunch of running stuff in the background, they talk about the Gecko brothers from or from Dusk Till Dawn. So that's a fun little background stuff. But Curdled doesn't really feel like anything to do with Tarantino. Same with Sukiyaki, Western Django. Like none of that feels like Tarantino. Speaking of Tarantino, what do you think of Carradine, who I'm looking at right now on screen, and in Kill Bill? Was that a good choice? Who would be a better Bill than Carradine? Charlton Heston? See, I would think somebody younger. Shokasugi? Shokasugi should have been Pai Mei. Although I was happy to see Sonny Chiba turn up in there too. As I understand it, Shokasugi likes money, like most of us do. So dealing with him, it costs money. Our friend Video Tasties tried to get in touch with Sho Kasugi to do an interview with him, and me and him were joking about the email correspondence that he got with Sho Kasugi's representatives. So here's the famous scene. All right, they kick his ass while he's out spying. They got him in the Dodge truck. He's completely just beat to crap. They they bury him in this thing and cover him up with the dirt, and then that's when he wakes up and realizes he's in his own grave. So this is once again like Kill Bill, and he bursts his way out of the grave, except he does it with the power of a muscle car truck. Because by God, he's Chuck Norris. Oh, I like Tarantino films. Just can't understand the foot fetish. Anytime I see feet ass down to Tarantino film, that's what I say. That's what I mean. She knows. I don't tell lies here. I strongly dislike Hateful Eight in the last movie he made. Oh boy, I heard some sort of big bang outside. I sure hope nothing crazy's going outside. Um, so the last week there's a neighbor guy, right? There's a lady who lives across the street. Her boyfriend was around all the time, frequently on narcotics. Because of that, he's very loud, likes to rev his motorcycle, likes to break stuff, damage things, whatnot, shoot off guns, whatever. So they got married. So now somehow yesterday he got in an argument and a fight with some stranger regarding a muscle car Corvette. He wanted to buy a pink Camaro, and some other guy with a blue Camaro chased him home. And then I watched a man try to run over another man right out in front of my house. And then he turned around and came back and tried to run him over again. Like straight up, like if dude wouldn't have jumped, he would have got run over. And I'm not over exaggerating. Everybody else, like, well, the police came and asked us to file reports. I was like, I didn't get hit. But so when I hear loud bangs and noises during the show outside, it's like, oh God, what sort of white trashery is befalling me outside? I hope it wasn't that dude that was on the couch. I hope he's okay. I strongly dislike Hateful Eight in the last movie he made. Hateful Eight I enjoy because I'm a fan of Trapped in the Snow movies, and I like a good sort of weird mystery. And um, there's a lot of subtext and stuff to Hateful Eight. I'm sure we'll watch it and talk about it. We'll probably watch all the Tarantinos at some point or another. I did Death Proof already on here, so yeah, I'm a Tarantino fan. He's one of my peoples. He's not John Carpenter or like I said, Hitchcock. So here we go. Buried Chuck Norris takes the beer, pours it over his head, and then turns on the car, just slams the blower, and just drives his way out. He presses the gas, puts it in drive, and then the thing comes pouring out in reverse. Oh, maybe they're insinuating he's rocking it. No. Whether he came out straightforward, I don't know. The internet be internet people. Like I said, I wasn't even sure Chuck died. Um, let's see. For me, the whole foot massage part of Pulp Fiction and walking in the feet fetish is a little weird. And he's been a foot of up, great scenes, great filmmaker, great colleague. Daniel comments were interesting. I think he wanted someone else to play Brian Wilson. He was involved with Davis at Guggenheim and print. That time he was trying to leverage someone else to black and white. That last Tarantino I liked was Bastards. Honestly, I like Bastards. I liked Hateful Eight. I liked what do you call it? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Once Upon a Time, they're diminishing returns. I don't enjoy each one now as much as I used to. Um, I messed up one time when the internet first started having like early releases of scripts and stuff. I read Kill Bill before it came out. So that was the first time I had ever read a script, not like read a book that became a movie, but read a script that became a movie. So I knew everything that was going to happen, but just visualized it differently, as people say about when read something that you then see on screen. It didn't look right. Um, so ever since then, his movies have had a slight diminishing return. Kill Bill, I've gone back and revisited several times. I love it. Actually, Chuck would have been a good Bill in Kill Bill. When we were talking about that earlier, if not Carradine, who? Um, so here we see Chuck's got to rebuild himself. He fought his way out of his tomb, but now trying to shoot his gun, his wrist is too hurt to bust a cap in somebody's ass. Hot take. Never liked Casino. It felt like a discount Goodfellas. To me, Goodfellas and Casino are very much of a pair. I know people who like either or. Some folks like Casino more than Goodfellas. I'm more of a Goodfellas guy. Once again, that goes back to rewatchings on cable over and over. But I used to watch Casino a bunch too. I like them both a lot. Um, I'm a little bit Goodfellas more, yeah, because Goodfellas feels first. Feels like Casino is just a little bit derivative. I buy every copy of Inglorious Bastards I can find in good shape thrifting, and I think I have 8 um, on VHS. Is that, or are you talking about DVD? Good performances though. Mean Streets is incredible. Yeah, Scorsese's amazing. True Book, see no Don, but I love Don Rickles and Sharon Stone, so I lean that way. No wonder we're buddies. I'm Don Nichols. You love Don Rickles. Fighting Quentin's comments about that were extremely odd. It was really worth wanting to get someone else that was not right for the part to play that. Someone else. Yeah, but he's complaining about like a movie that happened, what, 15, 20 years ago now? Like, what a weird thing to just throw somebody's name out there. Critton is really wanting Austin Butler to be in everything, and he's mad when Austin Butler doesn't get the rules. Let me see here. Paul Dano should play Tarantino in the biopic. That would be funny. Yes, do it now. 70s is probably my favorite decode of movies, but our decade of movies, but I grew up watching 80s. Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite decade of movies in particular. I mean, the 80s is the one I've probably seen the most of. But in the 80s, like that was we moved around a lot, and I went to a lot of new schools, and I have trouble sleeping at night. So between all of that, watched a lot of damn movies in the 80s. That was the height of, I've mentioned before on other videos and things that that's when the VCR became a thing, and going to video stores became like just part of your like day-to-day life. It was a cultural thing. You had to have movies from the video store. Um, and then same with cable, suddenly going from like having 4 crappy channels you needed rabbit ears to like 30 channels, and they're all crystal clear and great. Well, 480p, but um, so there were so many movies in the 80s because that's the heyday of me just having a bunch of time and loving movies, and there being endless ones to watch. And then in the 90s, I was a teenager and young man at that point, and young adult, whatever. So I had less time for movies, but that's when I was more thoughtful about what I watched. Like, oh, okay, I understand subtext and symbolism, and I understand the difference between an anthology movie and an animated movie. You'd have to be really dumb not to know that. But yeah, you just start to learn the difference later on. So the 90s, there's a lot of movies I love and like. I still was doing the video store thing and all that. And then in the early thousands, I worked for video stores. So I had to look at it from the other side. Like I worked for a corporation that, owned a bunch of them. So I worked at a bunch of different stores. So I know what it's like to open up this huge box and see 50 copies of Alfie starring Jude Law. Um, I know what it's like to see only 8 copies of National Treasure and know that people are going to be hitting you up to go to the Dropbox and call in and all of that. So the thousands movies I've seen a ton of them because I got them all free, and I was familiar with each one that came out each week because I knew here are the 40 movies titles that were released this week on DVD. But then the teens, not as many movies that I enjoy. The 2010s, and then the 2020s, a fair amount, mainly just because I watch a lot for this channel. Actually, I try to mix up some new stuff and give people information rather than just discuss nostalgia. So here, Chuck pulls into the same gas station that Sarah Connor goes to at the Sarah Connor goes to at the end of Terminator, where they take her picture. Chuck's got his ribs are bandaged because he got his ass kicked. So he's got his shirt open, like all the way down to the rib bandages. Like, damn, Chuck, showing off a little chest hair, huh? So I said last stream I would adopt the short round as a bodyguard, and the next day found thrifting on the original Warner Brothers DVDs of Goonies. There you go. Rashomon is fantastic. Wow, I am behind. Yes, both Gusak and John Hughes interesting takes. I like hearing that he has to say stuff, but I think it takes away from his filmmaking. Quit directing, he'd be number one film critic ever. Yeah, I that's one of the things I admire about him, though. I talked about this when we talked about Kevin Smith before. Um, I enjoy people who use the opportunity they get to do the stuff they want. So, like, with Tarantino, he wanted to be a film critic because he loved film critics. So he does a lot of film criticism stuff. He's used his celebrity to write novels and be on TV shows and be a talk show host guest like he's always wanted to be and all that stuff. I think his podcast with Roger Avery, I enjoy it. He's got a bunch of interesting takes to things about things say about stuff. Um, he's super passionate. So when he gets all excited, worked up and stuff, you can't help but get like excited about movies too. He's that type of people. It's like a coach or something. He's very infectious political personality. Alien is the best movie made by an American director in the 1970s. Don't give me any of that Texas Chainsaw Massacre bullshit. Like he will snap and go off on a rant, and whether you disagree with him totally, it's just like interesting to hear him talk. But yeah, Smith was on the same thing. He used his career to do whatever he want, write comic books, podcast, all that. So that's why I never hate on Rob Zombie when we talk about him sometimes on here. Is that he was a dude who did horror art and music and some other things, and he figured out how to become a film director and a variety of other things just because of his talent that led him to other talents. So I don't really hate on that for people. I admire that they follow their dreams. By God, I'm gonna turn this into a musical. Um, from Dusk Till Dawn with Salma Hayek playing that poor white in the future Amelia was truly canonical of Tarantino's life. Yeah, exactly. That's what George Clooney says in the making of stuff. He's like, "Oh, sure, I get to fight a dead rat monster, and you get to drink tequila off of Salma Hayek's feet." QT is a hack outside of Kill Bill. Really, you don't like Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, some of the others? I'm a big QT head, but he's a cutie head. I'm a cutie head. I'm a big QT head, but yeah, he says some outrageous look at me hot take stuff, and I'm not sure it's. I feel like you have to have some dignity, like it's okay for the best basketball player in the world to be like, oh, some scrub was talking crap about me, whatever, and then not think about it. But if you if you start taking shots at everybody beneath you or maybe theoretically not on your level, then you just look real petty and angry. Mhm. So we're in another commercial here. We have it's got to be wrapping up, right? The commercial's wrapping up. Yeah, I don't know how much longer we have in this. Commercial's wrapping up. Um, there's probably about 5-10 minutes left in this damn thing. No, probably another 20 actually. Whatever. Um, yeah, we're on commercials right now. Of course, it's Tubi, so they're going to make sure at the end, after I'm hooked, after I have to see what happens to Chuck. There is 18 minutes left, approximately 19. We're at the 18:55 mark watching this on Tubi. Let's see, what else do they say is if you like this, you might like Stallone Over the Top, Breaker Breaker. That's a classic Chuck. Black Dog, Renegade, the old TV show starring Lorenzo Lamas. The Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner. Wraith with Charlie Sheen. Logan's War, Bound by Honor from 1998. That's a Chuck movie I've never heard of. Hang 'em High, as I said, Chuck does a lot of this Eastwood ripoff stuff. Firewalker, we talked about that earlier. Him and Louis Gossett Jr. We talked about that one earlier when I did Indiana Jones too. I felt like Firewalker was part of that. Uh, uh, not rip off, but homage or whatever to to Indiana Jones. After Raiders of the Lost Ark made all that money, a bunch of other movies ripped off Indiana Jones or tried to, uh, romancing the stone and King Solomon's Mines and avocado women in the jungle of death or whatever it's called. Um, Amazon Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death, I think it's called something like that. There's just a bunch of rip-off of Indiana Jones adventures because they knew that was a hot commodity. Put some adventurer out in the jungle. You don't have to pay a bunch of permits and things like that. And Firewalker or whatever, I always consider to be one of those with that same thing. Same with what's it called? Vibes with Jeff Goldblum and Cyndi Lauper. Survivor, I hope you've seen the movie from 1985. What was that? Is my phone? Oh, I think this gets disconnected. Yeah, that's better. Sorry, saw the power was about to go out. Oh, I will track that down, Clarkness. I've heard of it, but I have not seen it. The one from '85. Hitchcock faced restrictions that QT never faced. Yeah, exactly. Well, the limitations of just societal stuff of what they expect and what studios would allow you to do. And he worked, like I said, in every era. So he was around the friggin', that Code era, and then up through the '70s, like when he did Frenzy. He's got like a naked woman who's been assaulted in that movie and stuff. So he went through it all. Like he basically was making Frenzy's funny to me because I feel like Frenzy is a De Palma movie, but De Palma is a Hitchcock devotee. So it's like all the De Palma movies are sort of a tribute to Hitchcock, but then Hitchcock made a tribute to De Palma or a copy to De Palma. Um, how do you stop the bride from attacking us? Ask her to drive. Oh, the Kill Bill line. Gotcha. Lance, the damn phone's ringing. I can hear it. Dusk from Dawn. Easter egg is sweet. Michael Madsen, his first choice was Vincent in Pulp Fiction. I can totally see it. Yeah, I can see that too. Saya Hummock was great in Everly. Everly. I don't think I ever saw that. Killing Zoe is interesting. Have you ever seen Destiny Turns on the Radio? He's in that a lot. Yes, I've seen that with him in Pulp Fiction. Yeah, Destiny Turns on the Radio. That's what Jim Belushi, right? And then it's kind of like he's sort of like I don't even know how to describe it, like a heaven can wait type angel or some nonsense. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, I've seen that one. I actually own that one on VHS also. For a while there, I was a big Tarantino head. I'd get anything he had to do with anything. Um, a good one to see if you're a Tarantino fan that isn't Tarantino is I think it's called Switchblade Sisters or something like that. It's like a '70s black exploitation, well, exploitation type movie, and about this woman with an eye patch, and you see a lot of where the badassery of the bride comes from. So now this is just straight up like the end of Machete or every other movie of this ilk. Um, Everybody's just running out of buildings and getting shot, and Chuck's trying to get his daughter. Oh, his daughter got shot. Oh, snap. She's okay though. Man, I thought it was Dogman last time. Doing the couch laughing, I think it was fine. As long as the concert it sounds. For those of you nice enough to hang out this far into the show, you at least deserve some answer. I started 20 minutes late tonight because I have technical difficulty. And the technical difficulty was my brother-in-law needed to stay with us tonight. And I told him, well, I was planning on doing a show because Chuck died and, I wanted to watch something, the Octagon, some shit. So I told him, well, if you want to hang out, you can hang out. But otherwise, like right now, I think he went and took a shower and he's going and seeing the baby and playing and stuff. So, um, yes, that's my brother-in-law Xavier. Every now and then he crashes here when he's over on this part of town, and once or twice I've let him interrupt a show, but not this time. I just decided, damn you, Xavier, I'm doing one no matter what. That was insane. David Carradine just shot an M60 with like a V-neck sweater with chest. So it was basically like Rambo at Christmas time look kind of thing. And this is just turned into superior firepower. Like it's all just military vehicles driving at each other, playing chicken. Old boy Hector, Robert Beltran is shooting a bazooka. I think that's a grenade launcher, actually. That's the thing with GI Joe. I had so many GI Joe action figures and read so many comic books as a kid. It's like, no, that's a rocket launcher. That's a grenade launcher. The bazooka is that one. There you go. That's a bazooka. Never held any of that stuff or seen one up close in my life. So now Chuck is getting his revenge for being buried alive in his Dodge Ram. and he's just running over David Carradine's whole operation here with a big plow forklift. I don't know what would you call that. There would be some sort of dump. No, I don't know what that would be. I don't know. A loader? Is that what that is? Sure. I don't know what that is. A backhoe, because that's the funniest thing for it to be. Chuck got a backhoe. I think it's just a tractor. I think a tractor with a scoop. I don't know. Usual topics we talk about on here that we have not talked about since this movie is apparently wrapping up. Even though I'm behind on the chat, there's 12 minutes left. See, I knew Chuck was beating everybody up. Um, so that's when Chuck eventually has the red headband on and everybody's getting punched in the throat. David Carradine still needs to come out in his damn dad from the Brady Bunch sweater. They say Red Dawn is comparable to this. I don't believe it. Um, Stuff we usually talk about that we haven't talked about. The budget on this was 5 million. The gross was 12.2 at box office, both pretty much international and domestic combined. Um, I don't know how much this made on home media afterwards. Those numbers are always fuzzy. They're hard to track down. They're all estimates because nobody wants to say we made a bunch of money and then the people who were in it are like, well, where's my residuals? It's like, nope, we never turned a profit on it. It never went profitable. We never have to pay you anything. For being a big tough guy, Chuck's biceps incredibly unimpressive right there. When I'm lifting regularly, I'm bigger than Chuck. I will take that as a pride of a badge of honor. Like I'm bigger than Chuck Norris. As he undoes his belt, okay, Chuck, you win. You win. Settle down, buddy. Chuck Norris doesn't have a penis. He has a tiny fist. Just there's a free Chuck Norris for you, brand new one. Awesome. Like I said, there's supposedly the story is that the David Carradine role was supposed to be played by Bruce Lee. So Chuck and him are having this big fight down at the end, and it's all these big close-ups. As I mentioned, this is a ripoff of Clint Eastwood, Sergio Leone stuff. Um, so they cut to Carradine, and he does the Bruce like whoa, to start the whole fight off. Classic. Give a shout out to the man. Okay, so these two are kicking and punching each other. When something amazing happens, I'll say it, but I got to get caught up on this chat. Paramount Warner Brothers offers Tarantino a fugitive movie. That would be good. Supposedly, Tarantino and Roger Avery were both looking to do Star Trek stuff, and they were both so mad at modern Star Trek that they were interested in it, but no. Disney supposedly tried to get Tarantino to come in and do a Star Wars movie. He turned him down, I believe. That's wild. Don Kill Bill was spoiled for you. That's why you don't watch live stream gaming. I want to play with streams where I've seen this movie. Yeah, I only read Kill Bill 1, actually. Yeah, I think I only read Kill Bill 1. But watching it in the theater, it's like, oh no, this is going to be 2 hours of things I know what's going to happen. I'm not digging it. Wow, Chap on sofa disappeared. Yeah, Xavier's around here somewhere. But he usually sleeps on this couch behind me. And I told him, okay, well, you can hang out, but please don't disturb the chat unless you got something incredibly useful to contribute. Apparently, he didn't. DVD of Inglorious Backwards VHS. I didn't think there was any VHS release because that was right at the end of when VHS was phasing out. Like, what do you call it? History of Violence was the last VHS one or whatever, and that was years before. But then they would do like specialty individual releases. But yeah, I don't think Inglorious ever got that treatment until later on. My favorite era is 85 to 95. Arguably the best. That's really my sweet spot. That's where I know most of the movies that came out. And even if you're like, did you ever see blank? And I go and look and I was like, oh, yep, never mind. I did. Um, Early 80s, a fair amount. I liked a lot of stuff. I still remember, being excited to watch For Your Eyes Only or being excited to watch The Outsiders or Taps and all these movies like from the early 80s and things like, um, the Star Wars and all that just dominated Indiana Jones, all the rip-offs of Star Wars and Indiana Jones. So Chuck is just straight up beating David Carradine's ass right here. It's gotten ugly. It's not even close. Like it's at this point somebody throwing a towel. Um, '94, 2004, me at 43-year-old. Yes, cool movies, entire mid late '90s and two Eraser, Bowfinger. Um, 80s necessary for the '90s to thrive. LOL, that is the truth. Oh, for sure. Well, the '90s have their own benefit because that's the independent boom. The Hollywood filmmaking dominated everything up until the '80s, and then the '80s came along and the VHS revolution happened, and there could be a bunch of direct to consumer stuff that didn't have to go to theaters. So there was more movies than ever because before they were only made for theatrical run because nobody was buying movies to watch at home on 8 millimeter projectors. So until VHS or Betamax or whatever home release came out, and then later on cable and made for TV stuff, the '80s had just a tripling of movies made compared to what used to come out and everything. Movies would be in the theater for a year prior to the '80s, and then once the '80s came along, that's when that all faded away. And it's like if you're lucky to make it for a couple months, your movie's a smash success. Um, but then in the '80s, all that VHS stuff and all that dearth of filmmaking and all that, like, hey, we need more movies. There needs to be more movies on the shelves at the video stores, more stuff for cable companies to buy to have programming on because there's so many damn cable companies now and everything. So the '90s then got a lot of independent filmmakers. Like, folks were like, well, shoot, if you guys need movies, I'll make you one. And you couldn't do that before. You had to have like a big production studio and then be in theaters, then hope they turned your theater thing into a VHS and all that. So the '90s are huge because that's like the punk rock era. You could make any old fool could start making movies. That's how I learned to love film. That's the first time I ever got a video camcorder in my hand, and the first time I ever had a laptop that I could edit video on and stuff. Like none of that was around before. You had to get two VCRs to make movies before. So the '90s have a lot of important steps. Obviously, that's when CGI took hold. I'm not a big fan of CGI. That's why a lot of stuff from the thousands and the teens is garbage to me because they just over push CGI as if it was better than it was. Don loves Original Sin, the biblical version. Don loves Shark's Tale. Right. These are all movies that I remember being unboxing and being like, oh dear Lord, Shark's Tale for sure. That was a whole wall. That's like 100 movies you got to unload. Um, I remember what else is one that's like a ton of them. Um, the Family Stone. I remember that. There was like 60 copies of the Family Stone, and it's like no one wants to see this movie. But then a movie like The Pacifier with Vin Diesel came out, and Vin Diesel was like a big deal, and people would just be like, "We want The Pacifier." It's like I only got 6 copies. Leave me alone. You've turned this movie into a nightmare for me. LOL. I never thought I'd start talking fast like Tarantino when I get excited too. LOL. Yeah, I have to talk fast on sometimes on this to try to speed up, but sometimes when Tarantino talks, that's how I feel. Okay, listen, man. Okay, okay, okay. Um, the Tarantino impression is basically a more white guy talking black version of Joe Pesci. There's a free Tarantino impersonation for you. You can do your own. Solid Tarantino impression. Did you like White Line Fever? I don't know if I saw that one. That's one of those where I would start looking at it like, oh, I saw this. Holy, I the Magnificent Seven sealed CBS box set that needs to get graded. Do Chuck Chops and they like Thurston in my city. I am the Vengeance now, buddy. They follow up and like, that is a primo audition. Thank you for me as the Tarantino young ingenue. I forgot he was in there with Yule from Westworld. That made me even better, broski. I love Westworld. That's one that's never on streaming, and when it is, I don't set up a stream and then it's gone. So Westworld, we need to watch. Westworld's one of my favorites. Like I say, the era when I was a little kid watching movies that were way older than I should have been watching. Like things made for grown-ups. And as a little boy, I was watching it. Westworld is one of those. And to this day, I'm still haunted. I find Yul Brenner the robot scarier than Michael Myers. I kind of always did. Follow in line. My little black medical bag. Oh yeah, that's yeah. I love the strangers on a train. He's talked to Marianne at the carnival. It's so creepy. Yeah, and then the little kid goes by with the balloon. He pops it with a cigarette and stuff. I loved all that. Yes, he produced several. I love him too. Chuck is the villain and Fire Down Below would have been good. Yeah, I see. That's the thing with Chuck. He got very politically active, and I think in Hollywood being far right wing on stuff, whether you agree with his politics or not, you're not likely to be invited to dinner parties and things and get in movies as much. So unless you're specifically trying to fund a Chuck Norris movie because you like his values. You know, I guess it's a part of the Rolling Thunder pictures that has other titles. Yeah, Rolling Thunder is another one. If you like Tarantino movies, see that movie Rolling Thunder. It's got Tarantino vibes all running through it, but it's not quite Tarantino. So there, the movie wraps up. Chuck's defeated the bad guy. He's pulling away in his car, and his ex-wife's like, "Oh hell, I love him." I'm surprised there was never a Lone Wolf McQuade 2, right? Like this seems like a natural fit. So the automatic auto adjust on Tubi when this movie's over is it takes you to a force of one. Force of One's a good one. I enjoy that one. I enjoy an eye for an eye. An eye for an eye is good. The Octagon is awesome because it's got ninjas in it. You can never go wrong with ninjas. Um, let's see here. Let's wrap up this chat and call it a night, shall we? I need a Tarantino horror film. Right? A lot of people were disappointed with Death Proof. I would like a natural horror film, but I think that's his style. And even his horror film, he's a big De Palma head. So, when he made a Death Proof, it feels like a De Palma movie. There's a lot of De Palma stuff there. Um, so I don't know if he would make like a straight out slasher, but I could see him doing more like De Palma thriller horror type stuff. 84 and 82 are two of the best years ever in film. Hard to ignore those. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I mentioned some of the movies formative. Every one I ramble off is like, oh yeah, Caddyshack, Blues Brothers, It, E.T., Escape from New York. Just in that block of late 70s, early 80s, there's just so many awesome formative movies. Even mid 80s with Freddy and the Rambo and all of that stuff. It's just that's an awesome era of filmmaking. It's a little glossy and Hollywoody, but like I say, that sort of bounces back in the 90s when it gets sort of punk rock and indie, right? Crooks is very inspiring for sure. He made that move from practically nothing. It's weird. I talked about this before. Smith, I admire, and I've read a whole bunch of stuff about him and listened to his podcasts. And I enjoy Kevin Smith as a man, so I'm always fascinated what he's doing. That Evening at Kevin Smith movie or stand-up comedy special or whatever. I talked about him getting to do stuff he wants. He turned to being a loudmouth movie director and getting to do a stand-up comedy special like Eddie Murphy Raw or some crap. Um, with him, I I saw what he was doing and I felt like I could do that too, or maybe even better. So it was inspiring, as opposed to like Spielberg. We watched Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark the other night. I never felt like I could do a Steven Spielberg movie. I still don't. I don't know anybody else who could. I can't do a James Cameron movie, But when you see Kevin Smith, and even to a certain extent Tarantino, well, Kill Bill's a different animal, and I guess Death Proof is too a little bit. A lot of his just talky, sitting around stuff you can do if you learn how to operate a camera, learn about lighting, learn about music and sound effects, and all of it that makes a movie. You can learn how to make that kind of movie and make your own one that feels cool and awesome to you. Um, I some stuff I just don't feel like I could do. I can't make a Star Wars movie. Although nowadays I probably could. Most of them suck. The 2000 CGI, you bring back fond memories of Jar Jar Binks in the fifth and the rabbit holes in YouTube with it. Yeah, that was the problem. They once CGI became a thing, they pushed that on everything. When they did the Thing prequel and they were like, "Oh, it's going to be all practical effects because we know you guys hate CGI," and then they did CGI anyways. It's like when I tell my toddler, "Don't take a cookie," and she looks at me and goes, "Nah," and then reaches and grabs a cookie. It's like, I can't help myself, Dad. That's how them fools in Hollywood were. Everything got to be CGI. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. So many zombies and werewolves and everything just look like crap because they're all, I don't know, even Spider Man. Spider Man, you look all rubbery. I love those Sam Raimi Spider Man, but the CGI ruins it, man. I watched Night of the Comet recently. It had a very low budget, but looked like $1 million production. I love Night of the Comet. You heard me talking about Hector being in this. Um, that's another one. It's quirky, but they keep it real just enough to still make it awesome. That's got the '80s Valley Girl kitsch feel to it, but at the time it was supposed to just be like, hey, that's how the kids are. By gosh, look at what they wear. My father loved Westworld. I know around 6 years old, Yul Brynner more terrifying than Arnold's Terminator. Pretty damn close. Like I say, he's pretty much Michael Myers. Yul Brynner is. We talked about Chuck being in Silent Rage, where he fights a fake Michael Myers. Yul Brynner is basically Michael Myers from in Westworld. It's that same type of thing. The slow walking, taking your time to get there. He's coming no matter what. You can't really kill him. He's going to get back up and keep coming. Even the sturdy upright posture. Yul Brenner just commands so much respect. The idea that he's coming to kill you is scary as hell. All right, I hear the baby crying in the room, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Let's see here. Chuck Robert Duvall team up. Robert Duvall, I would take it anything. Love Night of the Comet cheerleaders on motorbikes with Uzis, can't go wrong. And there's like zombies, and there's that whole secret government underground thing, kind of like Day of the Dead, and all of it. Awesome, dig it. That's one I did on the channel as well. If you love Night of the Comet, feel free to watch that in the backlog of Night Owl Movie Talk commentaries, where between all the ones on my channel and the ones I've done on other channels, there's over 100 of them. The best movie I liked for De Palma was Blowout. Yeah, I loved Blowout. That was the first De Palma movie I ever saw. It or Christine, or not Christine, Carrie, sorry. It or Carrie was the first De Palma movie I ever saw. And then later on, I saw like Dress to Kill and stuff. Way too young to see Dress to Kill, but I enjoyed it. Survivor Chicks. Hello, all right. Tarantino was apparently offered to direct Speed. Would have loved that. Yeah, that would have been crazy. I don't even know who he would have put in that. I feel that Tarantino, I could do some things along his lines with non-linear plots. Well, that's the thing with Tarantino, though. Is I think that's part of where his ego comes from. Is he reshapes movies? That his idea was, I'm going to tell a movie story the way you would tell a novel and not worry about time. You read chapter one, and then maybe chapter two happened before chapter one, but then chapter three happened way years down the road or whatever. So that was the logic he went with things jumping around, and same with having chapters on screen. Like I see that a lot now with like the director's version of Doctor Sleep and a handful of other movies where just chapters pop up. Weapons had chapters. So you're trying to follow, instead of a traditional three-act dramatic stage structure, you're following more the novelization structure, where it's a kind of the writer has more say of the pacing of the story. Yes, Tarantino directing Dennis Hopper in Speed would have been fun. Tarantino directing Dennis Hopper in anything would have been awesome. I love me some Dennis Hopper. Tarantino, yeah, I don't know how we developed into a Tarantino talk on poor Chuck Norris dying day, but yeah, I'm a big fan of him always. And the stuff that he's been saying lately has been disappointing. I like his hot takes about movies. I like hearing his thoughts on movies, but I like more when he speaks passionately. In all people, I like when they talk about good things that make them happy and not what they hate and what they shit on. Right? Nothing's more boring than hearing somebody go, "I hate this and I hate that and this sucks." And da, da, da. But even if something's dumb, they're just like, "Oh, I love this pad of paper so much. You can't imagine how good it is. Sometimes I'm writing and I just feel so good not having a pen and a paper instead of always typing with my hands." And someone who's passionate about something and is, it makes you love it too. Like, yeah, I need me a pad and a pen. That sounds fun. So yeah, Tarantino, when he's excited about things and passionate about things, I love him to death. But when he's an old, curmudgeon, as it were, f him. But anyways, I am sitting here at 3:30 in the morning Eastern time, which means I need to take my butt to bed. Need to go see Mrs. Night Owl and that crying baby. Need to get that man on the couch back on his couch so he can go to sleep. I thank you for joining me. I thank you for being here for a celebration of Chuck Norris, the man, the myth, the legend, the Republican icon, the first dude who ever made jeans that stretched so you could kick people. You know what I mean? Not enough stretchy jeans before Chuck. So, he'll be missed. In my channel, I have a bunch of different playlists and different directors, writers, actors, or whatever. And Chuck Norris is one of the first actors in there. It's like a little mini Hall of Fame. He's right there with Bruce Willis, Kurt Russell, Sly, Arnold. All my favorite actors are there, and Chuck's right there with them because Chuck's awesome. And so are you for hanging out with me and watching tonight. Mr. Bones, Stacy, 59 Survivor, Chabot is here, Echo is here, all the homies were here. Mrs. Night Owl, the dude on the couch was here. That's so funny when you said, I believe it was 59 said it. I called him the dude on the couch too. I was like, it'd be so weird if I just had a guy sitting in the back over there. And I was like, okay, here's the deal. You can hang out and you get your couch, but you're not allowed to talk. Um, so thank you for playing along with that bit. Thank you, Patrick. Have Cheetah Wolf travel. Have Cheetah Wolf view. Um, Let's see here. Folks are saying Night Don's so much knowledge in here. Yeah, a lot of bullshit too. I'm an idiot. I love you guys. Patrick says great show. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you dropping by and doing Chuck. We got a few others to do. I have a checklist of ones that I've already made thumbnails for. So keep an eye out for me. And we got a full moon eventually in a week or two coming up. I'll do a werewolf movie as per usual. You know. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I think you guys are awesome. I love you. You're amazing. You're perfect. Totally half baked, dude. Yes, it was exactly. You missed the point of that story entirely. Gave her a pearl necklace. I thank you, and I wish you all a wonderful night and green grass and high tides forever. Adios, amigos. I love you.